the maternal father of the Pokémon world. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 251 Conceal. At this time, the light wall on Eminem's body looks like a 360-degree defensive cover, not only like a substance, but also has dragon scale-like textures on it. The effect is also different from the light wall that Eminem is familiar with. It is almost 100% resistant to attacks. Eminem entered the research institute directly from the destroyed roof and found that the explosion site on the third floor was almost blown up and the entire building began to collapse. Obviously, the explosives were extremely powerful point in this situation. There should be no living people, although Armu broke into a cold sweat for Zhenghu and Shirley, but now she also understands that there is no delay and immediately ran downstairs, only to find that Zhenghu and many staff members of the research institute were tied up or fainted. It fell in various rooms on the second floor and the first floor. Eminem quickly let go of the part that was still awake, and then everyone took the other part out that was unconscious. In nearly every room, Eminem found detonators, but to everyone's relief, there was no second wave of explosions until they all escaped. Eminem guessed that either Jin deliberately used the first wave of bombs to lure himself back to avoid being chased, and then dared not detonate the second wave. At this time, he should have fled in disgrace, or Jin's remote control is broken. In contrast, the first possibility is more likely point. After all, if everyone is killed, there is no need to rescue them, and they must be chased after them. Jin Jiu doesn't know that the appearance time of the huge fast dragon is limited. Even if he guesses it, he dare not bet point at this moment. Eminem suddenly found that Shirley was missing and asked quickly, "Wait, where is Dr. Shirley?" "Drive," Zhenghu said with an ugly face. Oops. Dr. Shirley was taken to the third floor by that guy before, but after that, he didn't come down. At this time, Zhenghu also probably guessed that the previous experiment was done by Eminem and Shirley in order to ask for help when Eminem fainted out. Zhenghu already had some guesses by looking at the data at that time. And then Jin and Shirley turned faces again point. Although he was deceived by Shirley, Zhenghu still thought that Shirley was returning from the wrong way, so he was also very worried about her safety. But now the 3-story research institute has been bombed to the point that only 2 floors remain, and the rest is also collapsing. I'm afraid. At this time, Armu ignored the obstruction of Zhenghu and others and ran back quickly, unwilling to reconcile, and wanted to go to see again. The effect of light wall has not yet passed, let alone some collapses. Even if Jin dared to detonate the bomb, can't hurt Eminem either. However, Eminem also guessed in his heart that the reason why Jin detonated a wave first was probably to silence the important Shirley first. As for Zhenghu and the others, just treat it as a hostage that forces Eminem to stay for SQ point. Compared with Zhenghu, if Shirley escapes from birth, it is a more threatening thing to the organization point. The more Emu thinks about this, the more sinking her heart becomes, and she is even ready to not find Shirley alive. However, just when Eminem was about to go up to the second floor from the other side of the stairs, he suddenly heard a sound of falling point. Immediately, a little girl who looked like 6 or 7 years old rolled down the stairs because she was wearing inconvenient adult clothes. Although this change is a bit big, but from the facial features that have become much more immature and the hairstyle that has not changed much, Eminem still recognizes this should be Shirley. Drive. Shirley, you still have ancient energy on you? Amu immediately realized point. Shirley bit her lip at this moment. She was silent for a while, but she quickly said, "Quick, take me out from behind first. Don't let others know that I'm still alive." Mew hesitated a little when he heard the words and understood that this was the best choice now, so he picked Shirley up and ran towards the back door. Soon, the Junshus also arrived, and even Eminem saw Miwako, who was still lying in the hospital 20 days ago. I don't know whether it should be said that the human beings in this world are really resistant to physical constitution, or should they? It is said that Miwako really has a sense of responsibility point at the beginning. It was only Junsha from Hulan City who arrived, but after discovering that it was a vicious terrorist attack related to the Flame Team, the Special Operations Team soon arrived. In addition, Amu found that Junsha in Hulan City was not only a little slow to move, but also looked dusty and in a hurry. Miwako from the Special Operations Team was taken aback when she saw Eminem. Your trip is really thrilling. Before, Yumi chatted with her and said that Xiaolan and Conan always appeared at the scene of the crime. Now it seems Eminem is not bad, although the frequency is less. It is an ordinary case every time. Where is that? Amu said inexplicably with a guilty conscience. What's wrong here? Medihizi saw that a layer of ground was scraped off and fell into speculation. Let's go back and talk about it first. There are bombs inside, Eminem said and looked at the research institute. However, Medihizi gave him a sideways glance, thinking that this kid was making fun of him. From the mouths of Eminem and Dr. Zenghu, the Special Operations Team probably pieced together the truth of the incident. Of course, only part of the truth, because Eminem hid two important points. One is the rescue of the giant fast dragon. Eminem said that, after being linked with Ibrahimovic, he was forced to jump into the sea and then asked him for help by coincidence, without mentioning his relationship with the giant fast dragon. The connection matter. After that, it was only said that the giant fast dragon disappeared into the mist. Everything else is ignorant. Drive. Zenghu and others who were in the laboratory at that time also saw some of this, but they didn't see the scene where Eminem summoned the huge fast dragon, so he let Eminem play. The second is of course about Drive Shirley. Eminem only said that he was not found, and the Junshas also searched at the scene to no avail. Jin had learned about the internal meetings of the Quartz Alliance before, and this matter made Eminem unwilling to confess honestly, otherwise there might be an internal response somewhere. Shirley's life and death are not only related to her own safety, but also related to Team Flare's follow-up attitude. As for the giant fast dragon, Eminem doesn't want the Quartz Alliance to know at all if he learns about it from other sources. Eminem doesn't care. Anyway, as long as he doesn't admit it or cooperate, no one can do anything about him. Now that Jin knows that he can summon a huge fast dragon, Team Flame will definitely not dare to trouble Eminem. But, after all, the huge fast dragon can't be strong for long. Once its weakness is discovered, its deterrent power will be greatly weakened. Since there is no certain position in the Quartz Alliance, there is an internal response from the Flame Team. So Eminem doesn't want to communicate with the Quartz Alliance about the giant fast dragon, so as not to be tempted. As for internal Aang, who learned about this directly from Kinjio Kao, if the Quartz Alliance voluntarily mentions it, Eminem does not need to admit it, even if it is discovered. As long as Eminem himself refuses to cooperate, there is no way for the major alliances to force it. Afterwards, Junsha and the others recorded statements and checked the scene, busy all night. But in the end they only found a dozen corpses of people and Pokémon, all from Team Flare. But as expected, there is no leader called Jinwine that Zenghu and Eminem mentioned. This time not only directly proved the existence of the giant fast dragon, but also the danger rating of the huge fast dragon. I'm afraid that it must be highlighted. Of course, this kind of marking, like marking which beasts have bad tempers, don't provoke them, has no effect on the giant fast dragon. Chapter 252 Dark Organization. After the inquiry, Amu originally wanted to quietly meet Shirley, who became smaller, and accompany her to find her sister, but Shirley was smarter and performed a wave in front of the Hualan Junsha headquarters building in advance, making the two people more reasonable to reconcile. Before, Shirley was locked by Jin on the third floor of the research institute, and she was about to be blown up to kill her, but at that time Shirley had hidden an ancient energy APTX-4869 transformation fluid. Although after the injection, there is a 99% probability that the gene will collapse quickly and turn into a puddle of pus and blood in a short period of time, but seeing that there is no sign of success in calling for help, Shirley can only gamble once. In the end, she bet right. The reduced body made her break free from the handcuffs, and an explosion occurred shortly afterwards, and she was also rescued by Eminem. After escaping from birth, Shirley also tried to contact her sister, but it showed that the illustration book was turned off. At this moment, Shirley also heard the news that the largest breeding house in Hualan City had been stolen. Relying on his close acquaintance with Mihizi, after recording the statement about the incident at the Zhenghu Research Institute, Amu ran around in the Hualan Junsha headquarters building in a pretentious manner and inquired about the theft of the cultivation house. In the end, I learned good news and bad news. The bad news is that the prisoner Mingmei has suicide in fear of crime, but the good news is an attempted suicide. Speaking of this matter, it is also related to Conan. Minmei told Conan where the stolen Pokémon eggs were hidden before suicide. And Conan, he also drove the dream demon in time to barely save the seriously injured Mingmei's life, but it has already been declared brain dead in this world. Brain death is not absolutely irrecoverable, but at least it is basically irrecoverable. Even if it is a super type Pokémon of the great heaven leaking level, it cannot awaken its consciousness, so it will be recognized as such, but at least there is still hope. More importantly, although the local Junsha closed the case by suicide in fear of guilt, the special operations team of the Quartz Alliance and the investigator organization of the Junsha family have noticed that the Flash team may be behind this, especially at this time in the outskirts of Hualan City. Another research institute was blown up by the Flare team, so Mingmei, who was in a coma for treatment, was actually being secretly protected by the special operations team of the Quartz Alliance. Therefore, Amu didn't dare to visit Mingmei, but she and Shirley came near the hospital and took a few glances in the direction of the ward from a distance. Shirley, let's not stay for long, unless you want to reveal your identity to Junsha of the special operations team. Amu didn't specifically stop or persuade her, but left it to Shirley to judge. No. Whether it's the special operations team or the Pokémon investigator, they must all be undercover agents of the Dark Organization. Shirley said immediately. Dark Organization? Eminem was taken aback when he heard this. Shouldn't it be called Team Flare, where there is light, there is darkness? The Dark Organization is the two sides of the Flash team, and Jin is the one side of the Dark Organization. Even ordinary members of the Flash team don't understand the Dark Organization, Shirley said seriously. Then, now, Eminem wanted to ask where she wanted to go. Do you want to send it to Dr. Ali? But now she doesn't know Dr. Ali at all, and she won't trust him. Right, first of all, don't call me Shirley, Shirley said with a frown. That's right. Then do you want me to give you a name? Eminem said in a tone that he was super good at picking names. Shirley glanced at him, then looked in the direction of her sister's ward, and said in a somewhat silent voice, call me Zioai at ordinary times. Although Amu is familiar with the name, she frowned when she heard the words Zioai. Is it too sad? Changed to a more positive one. What do you think of Zio? AI continued to look at him. Amu had no choice but to say, okay, Zio AI, where are you going after that? At this moment, Amu's illustration book suddenly rang. Originally, Amu thought it was Zio who had heard about the case, but it turned out that it was Conan. Amu made a silent gesture to Zio AI, and then answered, hello. Before Amdo could say anything, Conan on the opposite side immediately asked, did you meet someone from the Dark Organization? With Zio AI's previous explanation, Amu noticed at this time that Conan was also talking about the Dark Organization. It seems that his investigation of the Flash team still has some results. Zio AI on the side shrank her pupils, obviously feeling uneasy, because she noticed that the other party was investigating the Dark Organization. After looking at Zio AI, Amu said, Conan, have you ever thought about what, if you ask me so directly, if there is a core member of the Dark Organization next to me? When Conan heard this, his breathing became significantly heavier, and Zio AI also stared at Amu at this time. Amu had no choice but to change her words. Do you think I'm humorous, Conan? What's going on? Did you find any clues? Conan resisted the urge to hang up the phone and continued to ask. Not long ago, after Conan learned about the incident at the Zhenghu Institute, he immediately found an excuse to contact Eminem in the bathroom. You want to talk about clues? Amu said, and looked at Zio AI. This clue can be said to be very big. As a core researcher, Zio AI actually knows a lot of secrets but watching ZOAI keep gesticulating X to herself with both arms, Emu had no choice but to say, there are no clues, but there are some gains. Harvest. Conan didn't understand point. I don't know why, but Amu feels that ZOAI seems to be paying attention to it now. That's the dark organization has killed several people this time, and the death is terrible. Eminem said solemnly. Point Conan. ZOAI. Seeing that Conan hadn't spoken for a long time, and ZOAI also had a speechless expression, Amu was still puzzled, so he added, it effectively weakened the strength of the dark organization. This is not a gain. They are all Jin subordinates. The nature of the dark organization determines that it will definitely not have a lot of little gangsters like Team Flare or Team Rocket on the other side. Otherwise there will be no secrecy at all. Even if it is the peripheral members are also elite members equivalent to the Rockets. Jin? Did you see Jin? What time? Conan immediately asked when he heard Jin's name. I saw it the day before yesterday. I left at 6 o'clock last night and returned to the institute after 11 o'clock. Eminem had already guessed what Conan was going to check. Damn. Conan seemed to slam the wall down hard. Point. So Eminem also took advantage of the opportunity to ask Conan about the theft of the cultivation house. Point. Knowing that Conan originally wanted to save Mingmei, but in the end it was a step too late. Also following Mingmei's line, Conan was completely sure that it was the Flame Team who shrunk him down, and learned that there was a dark organization department in the Flame Team that was particularly difficult to deal with. Chapter 253 Mutual Benefit. Here Amu just finished talking with Conan. ZOAI immediately asked, who is he? You may not believe it, although it sounds childish, but it is indeed a high school student detective. Before Amu finished speaking, ZOAI immediately interrupted. Zinai, huh? You know that too? Eminem was taken aback when he heard this. Well, Jin asked me before if I would survive after being injected with the ancient energy transformation fluid. I asked him what he found, but he said that he suspected a detective named Zinai, who was obviously caught by him. After injecting the transformation fluid, I always feel that his ghost is still there. ZOAI explained. Point. Before injecting this liquid, people would quickly turn into a pool of pus and blood due to genetic collapse, so Jin regarded it as the best tool for destroying corpses. Jin often used those discarded experimental products in this way. Point. Until after that, because although Jin was not sure, he also felt that Shinichi was still alive many times, so he has switched to bombs, although it is a bit more traditional. It is safe and effective. That is because Jin and Shirley mentioned it, so when she was in Carlos, she paid special attention to Zinai, a Kanto native. It's the Jin confirmed. Eminem asked Conan one more question. It's definitely not in theory. I specially modified all the accidental data. At that time, I also had the chance to gamble once in the future. ZOAI specially explained, I didn't, because of good intentions, but ZOAI also specifically emphasized, however, the theory is not very effective for Jin. He is like a Pokémon of the evil type. He has a strong intuition for this kind of thing, and I really believe in my intuition. This is enough for Conan. Point. The matter of Zinai is still alive is still just based on Kinjayu's intuition and some goose walk, but it has become like this. To be honest, I'm not very clear why there is such a change. What I have to study in the future is how to recover. ZOAI said, looking at himself shrinking many palms. So, do you want to go to the experimental product? I can tell him that you are my sister. Eminem suggested. Point. ZOAI also heard that the experimental product Eminem mentioned was Zinai's classmate. No, I'll stay by your side. ZOAI said very calmly. Point. Hearing this, Amu suddenly thought of something, turned on the front camera of the illustrated book with some anticipation, and took a picture of herself. Could it be that after the performance was completed, my appearance improved greatly? But according to photos, Eminem didn't find anything. After all, although I finished playing Beast Tamer last night, I was busy all night after that. Until the morning, that is. Now, Eminem has not had time to be promoted. Ordinarily, the improvement of appearance can only happen when you are promoted, and when you are promoted to the moon, Path point at this time, Zio AI also looked at Emu speechlessly, wondering if he had some unrealistic fantasies. That cool along, you released it at the time, right? Zio AI seemed suspicious, but actually explained the reason why she wanted to stay with Eminem. It was only then that Amu realized that after Zio AI broke free from the shackles, she saw the scene of summoning a huge fast dragon from the window point. Therefore, in Zio AI's view, Eminem's side is safer, based on Zio AI's understanding of the Flash team, unless they clearly discover the weakness of this huge fast dragon and are sure to be able to deal with it. Otherwise they will not directly target Eminem. It's probing at best. If you want to understand this way, it's not impossible. Eminem didn't tell the truth immediately. Well, since you deliberately concealed this matter, it should be because it does not really follow you, or there is a limit to appearing, right? Even if Zio AI did not get enough information, she was still so keen. Emma was speechless for a moment. Zio AI continued, I think you can't resist a few temptations just by keeping silent. You need someone who is better at dealing with dark organizations to help you. Well, Zio AI understands very well that it is never the best policy to ask others directly, and it can even be said to be stupid. But this wave is for mutual benefit. Zio AI needs M with a huge fast dragon to act as a protective umbrella, and Eminem also hopes to continue to maintain the persona of I have a huge fast dragon from the perspective of Team Flare. So Eminem pondered for a while and said, deal. At this moment, Emu's illustration book sounded again, and it was found that this time it really was Zyaksha. Where are you? Are you okay? What happened? Zyaksha immediately asked like a cannonball. As soon as she got in touch. Apparently she's heard about Eminem too. In other words, they heard about the bombing at the Zhenghu Research Institute. This incident must be at the confidential level, and the Junshus will not reveal too much to the outside world. However, there was an explosion in the Zhenghu Research Institute on the outskirts of Hualan City. It is impossible to block such a thing. So the folks at least know that something happened in the Zhenghu Research Institute, and the matter is still very confidential, and the news has been blocked by the authorities. Therefore, Zyaksha, who knew that Amu was at the Zhenghu Research Institute, naturally contacted him immediately after hearing the news of the explosion. Calm down, calm down. You ask so many questions, I can't answer. I'm alright now. Yes. Something happened, but it's all over. Well, I'm in Hualan City, so that's it. Go back to the Pokémon Center. Amu comforted Zyaksha first. Afterwards, Amu estimated that Mr. Jumu, who was not in Hualan City, should also contact him soon. One is that he has his own communication channel, and the other is Eminem's elf ball was directly destroyed under the attack of the huge fast dragon. In the end, that is to say, Eminem's Pokémon was directly destroyed. Wave back to Giantwood Research Institute, Sakuragi Research Institute, and Armored Rhino Ranch. The Armored Rhino Ranch is not worried about anything. At most, it is found that Arduin was sent back because the Pokeball was damaged. After that, he will probably contact Eminem to re-establish the Pokeball binding point, and Dr. Sakuragi was actually the first to contact Eminem because Genji UI knew what happened. He immediately asked Dr. Sakuragi for help in the middle of the night. Although Genji UI brought a lot of trouble to Dr. Sakuragi, he still believed Genji UI's request for help and quickly contacted Amu and planned to contact the gentleman of Hualan City directly if he couldn't reach Amu. Sand is coming. It's only past 6 o'clock in the morning, and when Dr. Jumu finds out that several of Eminem's elf balls are broken at once, he will definitely call to ask. As if seeing Eminem's hesitation, Zio AI reminded, there may not be undercover agents in Dr. Jumu's research institute, but there must be informants who can be indirectly contacted by dark organizations. Chapter 254. Sister. What is the difference between an undercover and an informant? The former are elites who are directly sent by the organization to scout for news, while the latter are ordinary people who can get in touch with some researchers and learn some speech news from their. The latter may just be delivering goods to the institute, or just a waiter in the restaurant opposite the institute. There are many possibilities. They themselves don't know who the target of the news is. They just take money to do things, so the number of the latter is huge. So If your huge fast dragon has a very limited use, it's best not to disclose it to Dr. Jumu. Just tell him that you have the means to protect yourself. ZioAI reminded. Armu listened to ZioAI's persuasion until noon. Eminem finally explained the situation briefly to all the people who called to care about his situation. Of course, he didn't say what he shouldn't say. To the others, Eminem didn't even mention the Flash team thing. After all, it was blocked news only for Mr. Jumu. Eminem did not hide it. After all, Mr. Jumu was originally an important person in the Alliance. Dr. Jumu was also very annoyed when he learned that the members of the Team Flare also learned about the internal meeting of the Alliance. And he really cared about Eminem's safety. Obviously, Dr. Jumu also understands the nature of the Flash team, knows that they will not give up so easily. According to what ZioAI said, Armu only told Mr. Jumu that he has a way to protect himself, and he also showed himself very confident. But Armu felt that Mr. Jumu might have already guessed something, so he didn't ask more questions. Sister, aren't you adopted by Grandma Leixi and Sister King Mei? Zioaksha looked at Amu and Zioe suspiciously. Because Eminem's life experience is too simple. It is true that this excuse is really hard to find. However, Eminem explained directly according to the previously edited explanation. Well, I don't know exactly what happened, but she does know me and this stone. I also have an impression. At this moment, Armu took out a pebble. From the looks of it, it seems that ZioAI took the initiative to find her brother, and the token is a stone. But Eminem was in Sangzao town 4 years ago, although Eminem said that for some reason, his memory of the past is not very clear. But, how old is this little girl? When Armu met Grandma Leixi, she should be only 2 or 3 years old, right? At this moment, Zioaksha and Yuanzi looked at ZioAI suspiciously. At this time, ZioAI directly pretended to be shy, pulled Armu's trouser legs, and hid behind Armu, only secretly looking at Zioaksha and Yuanzi with her head tilted. Seeing this, the two of them couldn't ask any more questions. This is exactly ZioAI's plan according to her. With Eminem's honesty, forced lying is too easy to be seen through, so don't say too much, just push it all on yourself. As for ZioAI, not only is her self-confidence very deceptive, but also, the appearance of a child is also the best protection. As long as she pretends to be scared, she can avoid a lot of trouble. More importantly, the process of the two recognition is still true. ZioAI and Armu did meet at the gate of the Junsha headquarters building. Seeing the opportunity, ZioAI first went to Junsha at the gate of the headquarters, cried and said that she was lost, and then, when she saw Armu coming out, she immediately went over and hugged his thigh and called her brother, although Eminem didn't know which one it was at the time, but because she knew it was Shirley, she cooperated with it tentatively. Afterwards, Junsha, who was asked for help by ZioAI, also saw with his own eyes that after the little girl took out an unremarkable pebble, Armu seemed to remember something, and then handed ZioAI to her brother. Of course, if it was a certain detective, he would definitely find more suspicious points now. For example, the sister Eminem. If you look carefully, all the clothes on you. Sure enough, Zioaksha and Yuanzi could only believe it, and seeing ZioAI's shy look, Zioaksha also wanted to make a good relationship with her, like coaxing a child, guiding her to order something she wanted to eat. After entering the restaurant, at this time, it is the restaurant in the Pokémon Center, and it is the safest place. And thanks to the various alliances in this world, because there is no restriction on population movement at all, there is no unified identity certificate except for the trainer's illustrated book. Especially for children like ZioAI. Amu checked her in easily. Of course, she asked Zioaksha to let ZioAI share a room with her during the meal. Zioaksha really complained about Eminem, although Amu didn't mention Team Flare. At least Zioaksha knew that some dangerous element must have hijacked the institute, and thinking about it afterwards, it should have been hijacked for 2 days. In other words, when she went to the Zhenghu Research Institute at night, those who blocked her really had problems. Really? Why don't you give me some hints? Zioaksha blamed Eminem for not trusting her appearance enough. That's right. In fact, I have already suspected them. I have experience in this. Yuanzi looked like he was used to seeing gangsters. Those people are too dangerous. Ahem. What I mean is, I still underestimated their danger. I thought it would be okay to cooperate with them, so I didn't want to alarm them. Amu changed his words midway, to avoid the two getting angry. Road point. Seeing that Amu was very tired, Zyraksha didn't say anything more, and Yuanzi also silently increased the speed of eating. After dinner, Eminem was ready to go back to the house to rest. No wonder, although Eminem is indeed a little tired, even with the energy bonus of indestructible flame, he still can't stand the excitement of the night. And he doesn't have time to rest in the morning. But no matter how tired he is, now, in this state, where he can be promoted, but has not yet been promoted, Eminem can't sleep. After all, Eminem wasn't sleepy enough to faint. After Eminem is going to go back to the house, he will be officially promoted to sequence 7, and then he will study the connection with the giant fast dragon. But just after coming out of the restaurant, when Zyraksha and Yuanzi went to the bathroom together, Zyroai pulled up Lam's trouser legs and covered her mouth with her hands, as if she was about to whisper. Generally speaking, such an action is too obvious, and it will definitely be exposed, but it seems normal for a child to do it. Seeing this, Amu bent down and brought his ears closer. Don't look back, there is someone following behind. It's a person wearing a green peaked cap. Zyroai also reminded her. First. Amu became nervous when he heard this are people from the dark organization so brave. Here comes the test. It shouldn't be their person, otherwise it wouldn't be so easy to be discovered. Zyroai added. Zyroai is almost intuitively sensitive to the people of the dark organization, but this time she didn't discover it intuitively, but the other part is stalking, which is very lame in the first place. Hearing this, Eminem immediately felt relieved. It's not a dark organization. It might be my admirer. And this is in the Pokémon Center. The other party must not dare to do anything. I'll make sure later. Who is he following? Chapter 255 Promotion. When Amu returned to his room, he took a small step back and glanced in the direction of the corridor, only to find that the man in the green peaked cap shrank back in a hurry. Sure enough, he was following Eminem, but looking at this clumsy appearance, it really doesn't look like a member of a dark organization, or even any violent organization. In addition to being in the Pokémon Center, Eminem didn't worry too much. At this time, he released Jenga and other Pokémon first. The Pokéball had been reported downstairs before. Then Amu took out the medicine box first and replaced the trauma medicine on his body with his own. Not only is the effect of the medicine better, but also considering that Eminem's physique has been strengthened after being promoted, it shouldn't take long for him to recover. Then Eminem lay on the bed, closed his eyes, and stared at the options in his consciousness. Without much hesitation, Eminem has chosen Harvest Priest. Harvest Priest, you will have the ability to catalyze the growth and reproduction of organisms, physical fitness improvement. In terms of ground, grass, and poison, it will become more talented. Immediately, Eminem felt closer to grass type, ground type, and poison type Pokémon. The obvious feeling will only be there in time. But it is true that Eminem's ground type, grass type and poison type tendencies have deepened a lot. The affinity is so strong that Eminem estimates that he may awaken special abilities such as Heart of Grass and Heart of Poison in this world at any time. At this time, Eminem also understands that the power given to him by the God's way does not exceed the scope of the rules of this world. But at the same time it is juxtaposed with the abilities of this world. There is a kind of improvement of his own potential, not a feeling of immediate empowerment. For example, in terms of trainer attributes, it is to constantly add basic points. As for whether to awaken any special abilities that this world already has, it is Eminem's own business. At the same time, as Eminem was officially promoted to sequence 8, the performance conditions also appeared at this time. Become a harvest priest of a piece of land, create a great harvest, and preside over the harvest sacrifice. Slim Shady? Sure enough, the acting requirements became more and more abstract, and Eminem didn't even understand it from the very beginning. How does one become a harvest priest of a piece of land? Want to buy it? Or should it be recognized by the landowner? Or do you just go dance yourself a big god? Creating a great harvest also baffles Eminem. It is true that Harvest Priest, in terms of planting, has a mysterious increase ability. Although it has not been written, Eminem can feel this, and even if you don't consider the ability of Harvest Priest, as long as you cultivate enough Pokémon that control the weather, you can make an area smooth weather, although you can't really change the sky. But if the quality is not enough, you can make up the quantity. Only a bumper harvest means a bumper harvest, and Eminem is a little hypocritical to have a great bumper harvest. How can it be considered great? Even if you directly tell me the yield per mu, at least I have a mental preparation. I didn't understand it here, so I skipped it for now, and Eminem watched the choice of the next sequence that appeared after the promotion. Although I don't know how to play this sequence yet, it doesn't affect my dreaming first. No. At that time, when you finished playing at level 7, you will have the ability of level 6, and you can choose one of the following two extraordinary professions! 1. Potions Professor. Your physique, lifespan, and appearance will be greatly improved. The mastery of pharmacy will go further, and the prepared medicine will have special effects. It is easier to come up with inspiration for new recipes in my mind, but the results are still out of control too. Biologists. Your physique and lifespan will be greatly improved. Your poison compatibility has been greatly improved, and you can master poison skills. Learn more about the various abilities and properties of living things. It is possible to create hybrid creatures, but the results are not yet controlled. At this time, Eminem has also understood that the ability to write is only an approximate scope, usually 3, which are equivalent to 3 main directions. As for the specific ability, it has yet to be discovered. And now, biologist, it seems to be 4, but after comparing it, you can see that the first 2 can be regarded as 1. Both are strengthening of one's own abilities. It's just that the Professor of Potions of the Moon pathway enhances physique, lifespan, and appearance. And the Biologist of the Mother's path is to enhance physical fitness, lifespan, and give oneself the ability to master poison skills. Well, the obvious comparison, face value or poison control. Armu is not greedy for face value, but feels that the further enhancement of pharmacy can directly show the nature of magic medicine, which is quite powerful. However, Eminem is not in a hurry to decide which route to promote. After all, Eminem still has no idea how to get promoted. Therefore, Eminem just looked at it for a while, and then planned to study the connection between himself and the giant fast dragon. At this time, if you take off the bandage on Eminem's abdomen and ignore the bloodstains and wounds, you can see that there is an extra dragon-shaped tattoo. Of course, it is just a simple pattern, which belongs to the kind of, if you know it is a fast dragon, it can be seen that it is in the shape of a dragon. This tattoo is equivalent to a pokeball, which establishes the connection between Eminem and the giant fast dragon. But now, even if Eminem uses the ability of animal perception to perceive this connection, what he gets is only the faint signal of the huge fast dragon, as if he is about to fall asleep. Eminem also wants to make a final confirmation of how often the giant fast dragon can come out. And the multi-evolved Ibrahimovic should still be with the giant fast dragon. Eminem told ZOAI before that Ibrahimovic is fine. Can I go to your place now? Eminem asked very annoyingly. Humans can't reach. There was a half asleep and half awake sound from the giant fast dragon. When Eminem's consciousness was in Ibrahimovic's body before, the huge fast dragon directly took him to over there. Eminem thought that there was a connection effect, and maybe he could bring him there too. But looking at the reaction of the huge fast dragon, it seems impossible to do this. And listen, this means that human beings cannot go over there. Eminem doesn't know exactly what the principle is, but you have to try it. Although Moon and Mother are not good at space ability, Eminem still wants to try his best. Even if people can't get through it, it's good to be able to see the other side. It's easier than communicating like this now. Some point, just when Eminem stimulated the connection with all his strength and was not calling, but trying to throw his own consciousness in the opposite direction, suddenly, when there was no sign of success, Eminem's consciousness felt a familiar sense of detachment. And the next moment Eminem did not expect that he had a familiar and strange feeling, as if Consciousness has reached Ibrahimovic again body. At this time, Ibrahimovic seems to be grinding his teeth. I was standing on a huge pillar and was biting the pillar when Eminem's consciousness descended, and when he temporarily calmed down his consciousness, he also gnawed on it twice. It wasn't until the next moment that Eminem realized what kind of pillar it was. It is clear that the huge fast dragon is lying on its side at this time, propping its head with its right paw and dozing off with its eyes closed, while Ibrahimovic ran to the dragon horn hanging on its left side and is biting on it. Chapter 256 Super Ancient Pokémon. The huge fast dragon felt something at the moment when Emu was inexplicably ghost upper body, made a suspicious sound, and moved a little point in the violent tremor. Eminem immediately controlled Ibrahimovic's body, hugging the dragon's horn with all four limbs. Although it was not shaken off, the huge fast dragon raised its left paw at this moment and pinched Ibrahimovic off. Immediately, Emu rolled and fell into the palm of the huge fast dragon and was carried to the huge fast dragon in front of you. Your ability has become stronger. The consciousness of the huge fast dragon came over Eminem. Didn't expect it to be so sharp. A little bit. Hard work will always pay off, Eminem said modestly. Humans always have new things. Of course the giant fast dragon doesn't know that Eminem's effort is closely related to it. Can I bring Ibrahimovic back later? Eminem is a little worried. One day the giant koala will be impatient. It seems that this little Ibrahimovic is a newborn calf who is not afraid of tigers and a huge fast dragon. Although it looks very lazy, but Eminem has seen it kill double-digit humans and Pokémon with a single slap. From what I saw with my own eyes, the giant fast dragon is the most ferocious Pokémon Eminem has ever seen. Not one of them. Use the cone first, then go out. Use the elf ball. The intermittent consciousness of the huge fast dragon was transmitted. On the one hand, Eminem can feel that it is really sleepy. On the other hand, the giant fast dragon is actually relatively unfamiliar with the Pokeball, so it just guesses and answers. Probably it means to let Eminem use the cone here to subdue this Ibrahimovic normally. And as long as the seduction is successful, the Ibrahimovic will be bound to Eminem's side. It seems that the original cone is a setting that appears next to the trainer when it pops up. A. After being subdued here, wouldn't it appear in a different space? Eminem is a little puzzled. The giant fast dragon didn't go to the different space before, but it is this size. No matter what is special, Eminem will not be surprised. But why does Ibrahimovic? Where do you think the different spaces? The eyelids of the huge koala are already fighting. I don't know either, but I heard. Wait, is it here? Eminem suddenly reacted. Indeed, the environment here does not look like the Earth of the Pokémon world. Originally, Eminem was also thinking, where is the giant fast dragon here? If this is the different space connected by the Pokeball, then everything makes sense. No wonder. This can only explain why the space transfer did not occur when the giant fast dragon was subdued. But, etc. That Pokémon is here. Shouldn't it fall into a deep sleep? Eminem looked at the huge koala suspiciously. It does look sleepy and about to fall asleep, but Ibrahimovic was very active just now, and according to Mr. Jumu's theory, if Pokémon wakes up in the different space, it will naturally be ejected to the normal space. But now looking at the action logic of the huge fast dragon, it is simply that it came back when it was sleepy, and it couldn't do it if it wanted to stay outside. The logic is completely wrong. You can't see. Oh, that's right. The consciousness transmitted by the huge fast dragon made Eminem completely confused. But at the same time, the huge fast dragon was holding Eminem with its left paw, and then, the waist stretched, sat up, and stretched for a while, so that it seemed to be a little more awake. Emu has seen it before. The temper of this huge fast dragon is definitely not good, but he is very patient with himself. No, it should be said. I'm very eager to communicate. Thinking about the arrogance of its consciousness, Eminem probably understands that it should not have successfully communicated with people or Pokémon for a long time. At this time, the huge fast dragon stood up, and Emu also followed the water rising and came to an altitude of more than 100 meters. At this time, Amu saw the huge forest that was thought to be lush and full of vitality before is actually only a little bit point. Although the vegetation here is huge, it is not as huge as Kuala. Most of them only reach its knees, and the tallest ones do not reach its stomach point. Therefore, standing at this height, Eminem can clearly see the boundary of the forest, and even beyond the boundary, there is a dead gray with nothing. Well, this is the difference in vision brought by the height. Eminem can see the forest full of vitality, but in the eyes of the giant fast dragon, it is actually dead here. This is. Eminem was surprised. Normal, outside. After the huge Kuala finished speaking, he immediately lay down again, looking really sleepy. Eminem also understands that what it means is that the position where the normal Pokeball is connected is in this space, but not here in the dead gray and white, and after entering the gray and white, the Pokemon will fall into a deep sleep instantly. So, you are trapped here? Eminem asked hesitantly. Not counting. Here, can replenish energy. Outside, there's nothing. Your place is too thin. The huge fast dragon has closed its eyes. You understood now. No wonder the place is full of vitality, and the giant fast dragon wants to sleep here for a long time. It turns out, the huge fast dragon is on the earth. Just like Ultraman is on the earth, it can't replenish enough energy at all. You can only recharge here, and then travel to the earth for a short time. As for the outside of nothing mentioned by the giant fast dragon, it refers to this space outside its area. That, still don't know what to call you? How about I get you one? Amu vaguely realized the possible origin of this huge fast dragon. Ko Paris. Slim Shady? Emu was also taken aback, didn't expect it to have a name of its own. It is said that in the communication of Pokémon, individuals do not need to be distinguished by names. Has anyone fetched it? It shouldn't be. Kopolis, are you very old? Eminem asked tentatively. I guess there are 5 digits. Eminem said boldly. You can be bolder. Kopolis was obviously contemptuous at this moment. Amu's eyes lit up and said, so you are an ultra ancient Pokémon, right? I heard that in some ruins, some people have found some props that seal super ancient Pokémon, and have released super huge Pokémon. Hoodie, huge fat ding plot. It's just that in this world, the existence of ultra ancient Pokémon is still a mystery, and there is no real evidence. There are only a few sightings, but none of them have been confirmed. Now that I think about it, the boss Pokémon lived hundreds of thousands of years ago, so the bigger and bigger Pokémon lived in a very distant ancient time, which is the so-called ultra ancient. It seems reasonable. Eminem feels that there is another smile behind it. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 257 Recovery. Although the HMM of Kopolis is full of perfunctory feeling of you say yes, but think about how perfunctory Kopolis was last time. Admitting that he is the leader Pokémon, it is indeed perfunctory, but it is not nonsense. The leader Pokémon should be an ultra ancient Pokémon. That is not ancient enough. Could it be there were so many resources on the earth in the super ancient times? Eminem looked at this big forest from left to right and wondered. It's not just that the vegetation is big enough and high enough. As an expert, Eminem can clearly feel it, but more importantly, the energy level here is so high. Kopolis. Sensing Kopolis' silent doubts, Eminem said reasonably, that's why you need to hide here to inhale oxygen now. Kopolis also said, just now that the current energy of the earth is too thin, so it wouldn't be true from the very beginning that the super ancient Pokémon evolved completely out of line with the environment, right? Eminem speculates that in the ultra ancient time, the earth should be full of vitality, like it is now, so it is possible to raise such a super ancient Pokémon that consumes so much energy. It's just that for some reason, the environment on the earth has undergone major changes, and the energy level has dropped significantly, so these ultra ancient Pokémon cannot survive. Some of them are as strong as Chaoparis, so they can only hide in this kind of confined space, charge for several years, and stroll for a few minutes. Eminem feels that he has fully understood the truth, but he just doesn't know. How long ago was the ultra ancient? It is said that the explosion of Pokémon species was 2 million years ago, so there should be no reason for it to be earlier than this, right? However, Chaoparis seemed to be extremely sleepy at this time, and he was not willing to communicate with Armu, so he closed his eyes and fell asleep, and it was the kind that Armu would immediately become true sleepy as soon as he walked. Feel point people with normal emotional intelligence must have bid farewell by this time point, correct? So if the area here expands, won't you be able to recover faster? Eminem suddenly remembered farming is now his specialty point. Not only food can be grown, but other plants can also be grown. In essence, it is to use the material from the earth and steal the power from the sun point. Only Ibrahimovic's little head looked up at this moment and didn't see the sun. The source of the skylight is just a vague bright spot, a bit like the feeling of Pokémon using sunny sky. No way. Increase the area. Chaoparis became a little angry at this moment. Point nonsense. It's been a long time. If it can increase, it has already increased. Maybe I can try. After Eminem finished speaking, Ibrahimovic closed his eyes. When Eminem's consciousness is on Ibrahimovic, he can still use animal perception, so maybe he can also use the ability of Harvest Priest. At the beginning, Chaoparis seemed a little impatient. Firstly, he rationally felt that a human being, even a special one, would not be able to solve his predicament. Disappointed afterwards. After all, it has been stuck here for too long. Even if you can go out for a stroll occasionally, you will never meet the same kind who can communicate point. But just after Armu pretending to be a ghost for a while, before Chaoparis drove him away, suddenly, Chaoparis also had an indescribable feeling in the dark. It's like the surrounding vegetation suddenly began to breathe in unison and coordinate with Eminem. What did you do? Chaoparis widened his eyes in shock at this moment, looking completely sleepy. Point and Ibrahimovic, or Eminem, at this moment, continued to close his eyes and frown tightly, as if hesitating for something. Eminem also just felt that the ability of Harvest Priest can bind an area. After binding, the vegetation in this area will be extraordinarily active and more susceptible to the ability of Harvest Priest, but of course, for Harvest Priest, it can only be bound once. At this time, Eminem also naturally thought that the Great Harvest is the key to the role should also be related to this. As a result, Eminem hesitated. Instead, do you want to bind here, just in case after binding? Can't it be expanded here? But after some hesitation, Eminem still decided here it is. One reason is that the vegetation here obviously has a higher energy level, so it should be easier to become great than farming on the earth, right? From this aspect, binding is an advantage here. Secondly, Eminem also made a conservative assessment. Even if it cannot be expanded, it can still find a way within the area, right? It's not like you're going to get stuck. Point. The third reason is naturally for reasons other than acting. Doing so may allow Chaoparis to gain more activity time, and even if it is the best estimate, it may be able to operate normally. Who would dare to mess with Eminem then? What team flair? They all exploded into fireworks. Thinking about it this way, Eminem felt that binding here was the most reasonable choice. Point. The moment Eminem made his decision, Chaoparis felt that a strange force merged into the surrounding space. No, it should not be called space, but a more potential symbol. It is also incapable of concrete perception. Point. At the same time, Chaoparis faintly felt that something was going on in this small world that he was so familiar with, and even every texture on the trees had been recorded by it for a long time. Variety. Originally, this place would not change, and the seemingly luxuriant plants were not in a normal growth state. Point. And now, it's not a sudden blowout skyrocketing, but it seems that the vitality is really more active. Of course, it is useless to just accelerate the growth of plants, because what is accelerated is not just growth, but birth, old age, sickness, and death. The essential problem here is not that there are not enough plants, but the world is already dead. But at this moment, Kaoparis faintly felt that the land, which was already dead and without fluctuations, seemed to be slowly being restarted at this moment, or was forcibly pulled up, and contributed materials. The sun, which had long been extinct, seemed to be reignited at this moment, squeezing out new power at the same time. Although it was slow, Kaoparis felt that at the edge of this small world, at the junction of the dead land, a seed that had been buried for an unknown period of time, the germ was gradually breaking through the shell. Chapter 258 Dragon Scale. How did you do it? Kaoparis asked excitedly. Pointed got excited, and the huge consciousness shocked Eminem a little dizzy. Seeing this, Kaoparis calmed down a little. A kind of special power. Eminem put it here, and put it here for a while. Kaoparis, but other than that, there really isn't a better explanation. Actually, I'm born to be very stupid. Eminem forcefully described it. Kaoparis, it is indeed very grass, and what is happening here now, although the small but continuous changes are brought about by grass or plants. Normally, the reason why this dead world is dead is not because plants don't grow, but because the earth and sunshine are dead. The plant does not grow is the manifestation, not the cause. Therefore, no matter how much you endow plants with vitality, it is useless. After all, it is not the plants that give the world vitality, but the plants are using the vitality of the world to grow, which is an external expression. But after being tricked by Eminem, the situation changed completely. Amu once said to Mr. Jumu that the grass element is the means by which the earth steals the power of the sun, but now, the grass bound to Amu has completely become a bully who eats both ends. From hey, I'm going to die without nourishment, to hand over your nourishment, let me move, forcing the earth to start its rhythm again. The sun spread its light again, as if it was doing cardiopulmonary resuscitation for a person in shock. In fact, it's not just the grass department, but also the harvest priest has already involved some authority of the earth. If it expands here, Eminem asked Kaoparis about this possibility again. Now, 30 days, 1 minute, getting bigger, more. Kaoparis transmitted his consciousness intermittently. The awkward statement of 30 days is obviously using Earth time as a measurement. Now Kaoparis can only take a few minutes of normal activities every month of rest, but the good news is that, if the scope of recovery here is expanded, then Kaoparis will naturally be able to rest more efficiently. By the way, in some legends, you are the god of the sea. So is the sea god Lugia or Kyoka? Eminem asked curiously. Kaoparis, in Eminem's mind, the god of the sea is not Rogia, it should be Kyoka. Rogia's probability is higher, because if he is called 20th god, he must have a certain ability to control 20th. Rogia should be able to control ocean currents, and it is said that Rogia has 3 holy birds as his assistants in order to manage the sea. Rogia is not easy to see, but there are occasional sightings of the 3 holy birds on the sea. As for Kyoka, there is no sense of existence. In various legends, it is very compelling, but it rarely appears. If this is secret, it's too dereliction of duty. As for Kaoparis, it's even worse. If he can't move for a few minutes a year. After Ramu asked, Kaoparis was silent for a while, and then, I'm sleepy. Kaoparis lay down directly, and knocked down a cone. By the way, and the cone just hit Ibrahimovic. The cones in this land have also been bound by Eminem. Of course it belongs to Eminem. The next moment, Eminem's consciousness could not be maintained in the Ibrahimovic body, and the function point of perception returned to his own body. At the same time, an Ibrahimovic appeared beside Eminem. Huh? Where did Ibrahimovic come from? Genji UI looked at the little Ibrahimovic who suddenly appeared suspiciously. Hey. Ibrahimovic gritted his teeth and looked at Genji UI. It's not that he hates Genji UI so much, but that he treats everyone like this. Yeah? Little thing. Do you still want to fight GUIC? How could Genji UI be weak? Just make gestures with Ibrahimovic. And Amu had already woken up at this time and directly used the elf ball to take them both back. One is Genji UI's elf ball that was reported lost just now, and the other is a brand new one, the elf ball that was bound to Mr. Jumu. Of course, Eminem didn't intend to pit Mr. Jumu, and now this Ibrahimovic will be a troublesome existence. No matter where he goes, Eminem is now sending Genji UI back to drive security. While Ibrahimovic is occupying his own place and sleeping in that world, Eminem has since known what the world bound by the Pokeball is like. A feeling of everyone has property rights to 6 beds in that world. Obviously, Paris is not willing to answer the question of who is the sea god. You also thought about it. Could it be? In the super ancient times, Cheopolis was really the god of the sea. It's just that it doesn't work anymore. If you can't do it, you can't do it. You have a big temper. Eminem muttered. After talking, Eminem yawned and was going to rest until night. In order to rest well, Pippi also took back the Pokeball. Butamu just lay down, and within a minute, he suddenly sat up. Armin and Alan in the room were also startled and looked at Amu with puzzled faces, and Eminem is also full of surprise. Eminem is used to seeing the fire or feather in the mental space when he is sleeping, so that the effect of rest seems to be better, sleep efficiency is higher, energy recovery is faster, and better sleep. But just now, when Eminem saw the fire, it was discovered that in the spiritual space, there was another thing, a dragon scale, like the feather. This dragon scale also represents a certain kind of power, and, two kinds of power. God of the sea, can drive wild aquatic Pokémon. Dragon ancestor, it can drive wild dragon Pokémon. The effect is direct and brutal. Eminem can be sure that this scale is not just discovered by himself. It should have been plugged into his consciousness not long ago. Amu even suspects that the reason why Paris stuffed himself with this is because he made its sanctuary start to expand, and secondly, probably to protest Amu's last question. Without this exchange, Paris might not have given Eminem this, and Eminem didn't expect that the ultra ancient Pokémon also has this kind of ability that is similar to a mythical beast and can give human beings some kind of power. But after thinking about it carefully and feeling it carefully, Eminem feels that there is a big difference. The dragon scale here is like a token, which is less like than the blessing of a beast, and it does not improve Eminem. What kind of training ability? Chapter 259. Eminem slept until 7 o'clock in the evening. After waking up, he began to write in his diary. On the one hand, there is the research diary about spiritual links. Because he was in the enemy camp, Eminem hadn't written too important a diary. On the other hand, it is about the playing diary about further impersonation and some guesses about the development of current professional abilities after the promotion of the path of God. And then you can practice and experiment step by step. There are also observation diary by Paris, anti-black diary aimed at dark organizations, and M's diary, which normally records daily life. It also includes the observation of dragon scale, the example of the blessing of the beast. Eminem has also heard of it a lot, and he also has inextinguishable flame. Generally speaking, it is related to training and conquering Pokémon, the ability to increase attributes, increase special abilities, and the like. But now I have not become better at training and taming dragons and aquatic Pokémon, but I can directly command wild Pokémon. In comparison, it is really simple and rough. It cannot be said that it is useless or impractical, but it has no practical improvement for Eminem. It is only more convenient in the wild, especially at sea, and there is almost no possibility of shipwreck. After finishing writing, it was almost 9 o'clock. Eminem first released Pippi and Ibrahimovic, and prepared to prepare food for the Pokémon, but Ibrahimovic is obviously very fierce, even bared his teeth to Eminem. Only when Eminem stimulates the ability of animal perception and appeases him in real time will he calm down Ibrahimovic's spirit, or psychological problems have not been resolved yet. At this moment, a message sign flashed on the illustrated book, and Amu picked it up to take a look, and found that it was Zyuksha asking if she was awake, and if she wanted to have a midnight snack. Before Amu wanted to reply to the message, there happened to be an invitation to connect again. Looking at the caller ID, it was Dr. Zenghu who contacted him. How are you, Dr. Zenghu? After Eminem answered, he was concerned. Dr. Zenghu should have just cooperated with Junsha to deal with the previous Flash Team attack matter. After all, it was an attack on the Zenghu Research Institute. The Quartz Alliance and the investigator organization must be very concerned about Dr. Zenghu's research. Not to mention, among the researchers under Dr. Zenghu, there is likely to be an undercover agent from Team Flare. Eminem just submitted the situation at that time, but Zenghu has more to report. Hey, It's a mess. But I still have to thank you. If it weren't for you, this time, I might have been bombed to the sky with a research institute. Dr. Zhenghu said helplessly. No, if it wasn't for Dr. Zhenghu's research and the information about the giant fast dragon, I would have been blown up to the sky too. Amu said politely. Point at this time. Pippi added, but if he didn't study this, wouldn't the flame team not go? Eminem, Zhenghu, Pippi made a lot of sense, so Eminem took back the Pokeball. Is Dr. Zhenghu going to continue his research in Hualan City? Amu changed the subject and asked concerned. No, considering that members of the flame team may still come to cause trouble. I'm going to the Hezhang area. The Junsha headquarters also recommended me to avoid protection, and Mr. Hogwood of Stan Industries also agrees. I'm interested in my research, and I have already offered an invitation. Zhenghu said with some relief. But Eminem can tell that Zhenghu is actually not reconciled. This wave of Zhenghu is also very unwilling, but his research institute has been destroyed, and the remaining information and data are only in his mind. Coupled with security considerations, going to Hezhang now is Zhenghu's choice of having to accept the reality. The Hezhang area is the headquarters of the Junsha clan, and the alliance in the Hezhang area is the most alliance in nature, because the development routes in the area, or even the painting styles, are very different. There are not only modern cities, but also a large number of villages that maintain ancient heritage. The famous Dragon Village is one of the representatives. The base camp of the Junsha clan is in the Ross Mountains in the west of the Hezhang area. Although the Dark Organization and the Flame Team must have tentacles in the Hezhang area, at least there will be fewer big moves. If you are concerned about the Junsha headquarters, it is not a happy thing to leave home, but it seems that Dr. Zhenghu has found a new sponsor and was rescued by Kaopolis again, which can be regarded as fulfilling one of Zhenghu's wishes. Zhenghu also curiously asked Amu a lot about the giant fast dragon, but Amu couldn't tell the truth to Zhenghu, but told him one more thing. Kaopolis is the name. Even if Team Flare finds out that Eminem knows the name of the giant raptor, it will only confuse them even more. After that, Eminem also wished him good luck and smooth sailing in the future. After hanging up with Dr. Zhenghu, Amu returned Xiaoxia's message and made an appointment with Xiaoxia and Xiaoyi to go to the restaurant of the Pokémon Center for supper. Originally, Yuanzi wanted to talk to Li Jia about the outsourcing of the Pharmaceutical Research Institute, but Conan clamored to come to see Amu. Xiaolan could only agree to it when she saw this, and Yuanzi saw that Xiaolan was also here, so naturally she didn't know reason to come. Li Jia is not interested in night snacks. After all, long-term living habits have told her that night snacks are not something a lady who is diligent in self-management should touch. Amu found his sister. Xiaolan was very surprised when she saw Xiaoza and heard her introduce Xiaoai. When Conan saw this, he had an expression of there must be a problem. What's your name? How old are you? Are you brother Imu's sister? Then how did you separate from your parents? Conan asked quickly, picking up Zheng Tai in point, but Xiaoai directly took advantage of her little girl and hid behind Xiaoxia's legs, pretending to be scared. Sure enough, Conan was immediately stopped by Xiaolan. Conan, you can't do this. Talk to girls, be gentler, and don't ask random questions. I see, Sister Xiaolan. Conan reluctantly promised Xiaolan. Yuanzi snickered even more and questioned Conan decisively. Little devil, you don't mean to strike up a conversation, do you? He. At the same time, Conan could clearly see from the corner of his eye that this girl named Xiaoai was sneering at him with a completely mocking look, but it's a pity that other people can't see it from this angle. Yo. Xiaolan and Yuanzi are here too, and Conan's little brother. How about it? Do you want me to go to the toilet with you? Amu came over at this time, and after discovering Conan, he touched his head. Although Conan looked at Amu with a dead fish eye, but Amu didn't care at all. What if it can improve the ghost relationship? Do not touch, white, do not touch. Chapter 260 Kanto Cup. Conan really wanted to take Eminem to talk alone. After all, it is more direct to communicate directly. During the previous call, Conan still had a lot of questions, but when Eminem took the initiative to mention take you to the toilet, Conan couldn't use this excuse anymore, so he kept staring at him. Conan, The relationship between you and Eminem is still so good. Xylan said with emotion. When she saw this Conan, the group sat down to eat first, and Conan also waited anxiously for the opportunity and secretly observed the suspicious little girl. Point of course, because Eminem said it was his sister, Conan didn't suspect that she had anything to do with the dark organization. It's just that Conan found that this guy sneered at him when no one else was looking at them or looked at the little white mouse. And every time Xylan and Yuanzi noticed it, he pretended to shrink back, as if I was staring at him, which caused me to be criticized several times by Xylan, and teased by Yuanzi several times. During the meal, everyone also talked about the recent arrangements. By the way, from now on, Xylaksha, you and Eminem, before the rookie competition, are you going to train in Hualan City all the time, and then challenge Hualan Gym? Yuanzi asked proactively. That's right. I need to prepare more and challenge the three sisters. Xylaksha said with great fighting spirit. Point of course, she ignored the matter of challenging the 8th badge does not require the owner to take action. Eminem said, I'm here most of the time, but I have to leave twice. Seeing Yuanzi looking over suspiciously, Eminem explained, Coffin is my ditto. Isn't he going to participate in the high school football game? I'm going to Rainbow City the day after tomorrow. Rainbow City? I remember that you joined. Wasn't it a school team in Deadly City? Sonoko also remembered at this moment. The qualifiers for the Deadly City division will of course be completed in the Deadly City. What's the matter with Rainbow City? And Conan looked over enviously at this time, as if guessed what Eminem was going to do. No, the day after tomorrow I will go to Rainbow City to watch the Kanto Cup finals. The Kanto Cup football game, which is a professional football game held by the Quartz League and facing the Kanto area, will be the final Rainbow team versus Golden team the day after tomorrow. This is also the group activity. Lizzie told Eminem to go to watch professional competitions first to cheer everyone up. Xylan, should we drop by and have a look? Maybe your boyfriend will also go and see quietly. Yuanzi said deliberately at the side. How is it possible? Zinai has said everything, and he is not in Kanto now. Xylan was taken aback when she heard this, and then immediately retorted, didn't refute this time. Is it a boyfriend? Sonoko immediately caught the loophole. Of course not. I know you're saying that on purpose. Xylan hurriedly explained. As for the matter of molesting Xylan, Yuanzi, who has already been familiar with it, didn't hold on to one point at this time, but continued. But that's not necessarily the case. Although a certain arrogant detective said so, but said maybe he was fooling around with some other woman in the Kanto area. Maybe the day after tomorrow I will sit in the audience seats of the Kanto Cup finals, hugging left and right, left, right, etc. Yuanzi, you are talking nonsense again. Xylan imagined it for a while, but immediately realized that Yuanzi was just molesting herself. Conan complained about the real 8th woman in his heart, and at the same time, also looked forward to the final of the Kanto Cup. After all, Conan, or Shinichi, was originally a football fan, and may even become a professional football player in the future. If you come to the door by yourself, you can work part-time. In the original work, Eminem remembered that Shinichi Kudo had been invited by a professional player, but Shinichi declined at that time. Later, that player seemed to have a lot of roles, and I don't know if there is here point. So Conan of course wants to watch the finals. After teasing Xylan for a while, Yuanzi deliberately asked Conan, Little Ghost, do you think it is possible for your new brother to go to the finals? Shall we go catch the adulterer? What? Are you catching traitors? Yuanzi, don't say that to your child. Xylan hastily stopped her after some hesitation. Conan still said, it's good to go and have a look. Look, even the kid thinks that way. No. It should be said that all their men think that way. Sonoko said immediately. However, Conan reacted quickly and immediately changed his words. I mean, Sister Xylan, we can go to the scene and take some photos and then let Brother Zinai envy him. Of course, Xylan heard this, so she could take some photos and tell Zinai what happened at the scene when she called later. Although the game is broadcasted, it is always different to go to the scene to experience it. Thinking about it this way, Xylan also began to be tempted. Eminem squeezed a cold sweat. This final should be fine, right? By the way, Yumi should still be in Rainbow City. It's better to inform her to pay more attention then. Seeing that Xylan agreed to come down, Yuanzi also followed, but Xyluxia is very ambitious this time, and she is going to continue to train hard, and she is not going to be distracted. It seems that she is already serious, knowing that he was able to watch the Kanto Football Cup final in person. Conan was in a good mood for a while, and seeing Eminem was even more pleasing to the eye point. But at this moment, suddenly there was a coldness in the back. He realized that someone was watching him secretly. Pretending not to care, he picked up the spoon and played with it. From the reflection, Conan saw that it was a guy wearing a green peaked cap. Point, looking at yourself? No, it should just be by the way. Point. Conan also felt that this guy was very lame in tracking and monitoring, and he also saw that he should not be targeting himself, but observing Eminem or Xyluxia sitting opposite. In addition to the suspicion of ZioAI, Conan looked around at this time, and after seeing the self-service ice cream machine, his eyes lit up and said, "Ah, it's ice cream. People want to eat that, huh? But it's already so late, and I'm going to bed later." Xylan was a little unhappy when she saw this. "Sister Xylan, can I just eat a little bit? Brother Armu, help me beat the cone." Conan changed his reason this time. Point. Seeing this, Xylan had no choice but to agree, but while thanking Armu, she told him to beat him less, and when Armu got up, ZioAI also stood up without saying a word, and followed. Xyluxia and the others didn't suspect anything. They just thought that the child was afraid of life, and didn't like to talk, and also wanted to eat ice cream. Chapter 261 Showdown. "Hey, it's broken, I'll give it to you." Eminem handed the slippery cone to Conan. Conan, Armu is still very good at making cones. After familiarizing himself with the machine for the first one, he gave the second one to ZioAI perfectly. Zaya and the others also typed out. Seeing that Eminem really looked like "I'm just here to make a cone," Conan couldn't help asking, "Eminem, brother, how did you meet your sister? Haven't you met your sister before?" Considering the slight possibility that this little girl is really just Eminem's younger sister, Conan still called Eminem brother in front of her. "Well, how about you reason it out?" Eminem said perfunctorily while beating the cone. Eminem felt that even if he lied, it would be difficult to fool this kid, so it was better to let him guess by himself. Conan. But before Conan could speak, ZioAI said first. Kudo Shinichi, 16 years old, from Mihua District, Rainbow City, was injected with the ancient energy concentrate APTX-4869 experimental agent on April 1, 200, in the amusement park of Viridian City. On April 5th, he searched his old house in Rainbow City and found no doubts. On July 5th, Conan Edagora came to Rainbow City. The next day, he searched Kudo Shinichi's old house and found some clothes he had worn in his missing childhood. Zio AI solemnly called out his full name and told all the clues she had. Conan was so frightened that the ice cream fell on his shoe without realizing it. Apparently, APTX-4869 is my main research and development. You should be lucky if it is the previous version. There is absolutely no possibility of gene collapse and downward stability. ZioAI said as a matter of course. You are. The expression on Conan's face obviously did not mean gratitude. Lee, this is my code name in that organization. ZioAI said with a cold expression on purpose. You bastard, you know it's because of your medicine. Conan angrily stepped forward to question ZioAI. But after finishing the cone, Eminem stretched out his free right hand and pressed it against his head. First of all, I want to correct you. It's not a medicine. I didn't make a mistake in the previous conclusion. Although injection is also a form of action of a medicine, but if it is a medicine, it should at least be in the form of a chemical reaction. A foreign object that affects and changes the normal physiological response of a living body. And ancient energy is something that uses strong energy radiation to change the human body's genes, and injecting reagents only makes its effect more direct. In short, I refuse to admit that this thing is a medicine. Eminem felt that, for the sake of his professionalism, he had to emphasize this point. Now is not the time to talk about this. Conan glared at Eminem angrily. That's right. In the previous research, the application of pharmacy was indeed a bit weak, but with the participation of Mr. Eminem, we will succeed soon, especially now that there is one more experimental product, right? I continue to provoke him on purpose. Actually. Conan looked at Eminem in shock. At this moment, Zyallen also noticed the abnormality here, walked over to look at Conan's head in doubt, and asked, "Mum, what's wrong with Conan?" Zyallen, hurry up. Conan was about to let Zyallen run away quickly. Concern makes chaos, and his current reaction is a little irrational. But Eminem took the lead and said, "No. Conan, if the ice cream falls off, I can make it for you again. How can I grab someone else's after?" You finished speaking. Zioai licked the ice cream cooperatively. Conan, how can you grab Zioai's ice cream? You are not allowed to eat ice cream today, Zyallen said angrily. After being interrupted like this, Conan also realized that these two guys must be fooling themselves, not to mention other things. In Zenghu's doctoral research institute, 2 figures of members of the Dark Organization died. If it is to establish identity for Eminem, then Eminem should be allowed to join some confidential department. Is it just to silence himself? Conan still has this amount in his heart. In the eyes of the Dark Organization, he is not so important, and Armu doesn't need other people to tell him that. If he wanted to reveal his identity, it would have been exposed long ago. There is no need for Armu to do it. But Conan stared at Zioai at this moment, knowing that there must be something wrong with her identity. Definitely not an ordinary kid, otherwise he wouldn't be able to cooperate so smoothly with Eminem. Conan even suspected. Conan. Zyallen interrupted his thoughts at this moment. Sister Zyallen, brother Emu. You misunderstood. I just want a tissue. Hehe. Conan picked up the ice cream on his shoe and threw it away. Really? Zyallen was suspicious at first, and then, inexplicably felt that this was reasonable. After all, Conan usually does not bully girls. Zyallen directly took out the tissue that she brought with her, and after Conan wiped her shoes, she saw that Eminem had already divided up the ice cream. He hadn't made up for himself yet, and Zioai, at this moment, he sneered at himself while throwing the last bit of crispy cone into his mouth. Conan finally couldn't help it and went back to the old method. Toilet. He wants to go to the toilet. Brother Armu, can you go with him? Conan couldn't feel at ease if he didn't ask clearly. You are such an adult. You still want your brother to accompany you? I will accompany you, Zioai said deliberately at the side. At this time seeing this, Yuanzi laughed loudly from the sidelines, and Zyallen said helplessly, really, why are you so clingy every time you see Emu? Conan, I can't tell you the pain. JPG. After the 3 of them walked out of the restaurant, they passed the bathroom directly and came to the safe passage beside them. Who are you? You were also injected by those people. What is that? Conan looked up and down, and after confirming that there was no one, he immediately asked Zioai, Mr. Detective seems to be hard of hearing. Have I already told you? I'm a researcher of the Dark Organization, the Research and Development Director of TPTX 4869, codename Shirley. Zioai said seriously. Without waiting for Conan to question, Zioai added by herself, but because my sister was silenced by the organization. Although she didn't die, she was unconscious, so I also used the performance of APTX 4869 to escape. Conan's complexion was not very good at this time. This time he really began to believe. He thought he was a victim like himself, but he didn't expect the perpetrator. But at this moment, Armu shook his head again and again. No, you are talking nonsense. Conan was a little relieved when he heard this. It really wasn't like that. But why isn't this guy telling the truth? You escaped largely because of my help, not just because of TX. Amu emphasized. Conan. Just to correct this. Chapter 262 Clues. Are you kidding me? Do you know what she has done? You can cooperate with her? How do you know that the black organization didn't let her out on purpose? Conan questioned Eminem. ZOAI's expression didn't seem to waver, but, in fact, her face turned a little pale, but it wasn't obvious in the corridor. This is a feeling. I believe that ZOAI really wants to draw a clear line with those guys. Eminem looked silly and sweet, and patted ZOAI's back as he spoke. Shoulder, feeling? What kind of reason is that? She is the one who created APTX 4869. Conan obviously wouldn't be persuaded, because of this reason. No, technology is innocent. Wouldn't it be easier to say kill someone with an explosive agent? I remember that Dr. Ali also applied for a patent for a special explosive agent, and don't forget, who helped you destroy the records. Otherwise, now it's not just Jin who suspects that you are still alive. By the way, you have a really good memory. You can remember the name after listening to it once. Eminem said in a row. You are arguing. Conan muttered, obviously not convinced by Eminem's statement, but after calming down, he did not continue the infighting point. Thinking about it carefully, it is not very likely that ZOAI is an undercover agent of the black organization. Otherwise, she would have been able to confirm that she is Kudo Shinichi, so why come to test her? And if it is to be undercover by Eminem's side, it is better to directly use a white identity who has nothing than to use the identity of Shirley. More importantly, you just said that your sister was organized by the dark. Could it be, with such an obvious point? Conan also remembered what happened yesterday, and his expression also changed a bit for failing to stop that person, which caused her to be cut in the spirit by the shield sword monster of Jin Jiu. As a result, the consciousness was broken, and Conan felt very uncomfortable. That's right, I still have to thank you, Eminem said. You must have protected my sister at that time, so she is lying in the hospital now. ZOAI hesitated for a moment, but then thanked her indeed. If it wasn't for Conan, there would be no chance to lie down in the hospital, and we could only go directly to the next link. You don't need to make a sad face. We are members of the dark organization. No matter what, we can't blame you for being attacked, right? ZOAI saw Conan's regret, but pretended to be relaxed and said, okay, even if it's for the dark organization not to confirm that I'm not dead because of you, it must be hidden for you first. Conan seemed to be convincing himself. However, when Conan was planning in his mind how to make ZOAI less likely to be discovered, and even thought of sending it to Dr. Ali, who is now one of Conan's most trusted people, ZOAI put on a deadpan look. Fishy said, no, you don't have to worry about this. You just need to provide me with some experimental data occasionally. I have to find a way to make us recover as soon as possible. Hearing what ZOAI said, although Conan had been prepared in her heart, she was still a little disappointed as expected. The perpetrator didn't know how to recover, so she herself was still like this. But after hearing ZOAI's plan for the future, Conan had no choice but to interrupt. Wait, you don't really want to be with Eminem, do you? He usually is very showy. Conan's reminder. ZOAI also understood. Armu is very prominent, so people around him are also easy to be noticed by the dark organization. I think the point of being in the limelight is also valid for you, Eminem said with white eyes. Well, Eminem's limelights are higher quality and Conan's more numerous, with new cases almost every day, and the occasional big case. No, what's more important is not whether you'll be suspected. Well, and Eminem's ability as a pharmacist is also very important. ZOAI explained a few words casually. But Conan didn't understand her first most important reason, because Conan didn't know about the giant fast dragon at all. It is true that ZOAI's parents work for the dark organization, so some people in the organization know her as a child, but as long as the small probability side effects of APTX 4869 are not exposed, no one will easily associate it with it, and even if it is discovered, it will only enter the second stage of psychological game. Next to Armu, a little girl like Shirley, when she was a child, appeared suddenly, and the dark organization might be alarmed. But afterwards, they also had to think about whether Armu deliberately lured them into baiting them, so as to catch them all at once. Just like when Dr. Zheng, who went to the Hezhang area, the flame team would not attack him easily. The Heshang alliance is so big, not that the Junsha family can take care of it, nor does it really have the power enough to deal with frontal conflicts from time to time to protect Zhenghu. Otherwise there are too many people who need to be protected, and the Junsha family can't help not court Butte in the United League, even if it seems that there is a chance to make a move on the surface. The flame team has to think about whether this is a trap aimed at them. From this point of view, the deterrent power of the huge Kuala is the same as that of the Junsha family. But Conan doesn't know that it doesn't matter if the huge fast dragon is just the second reason, which is very simple and very convincing to him. Although Eminem had previously concluded that Conan's condition could not be solved by medicine, but now that ZioAI, the instigator, is cooperating with him, the two of them may be able to develop a faster way to recover by themselves. Therefore, Conan did not continue to make suggestions. Then, at least think about it again. Is there anything that will be exposed? For example, your sister was also in Hualan City before. Well, Conan confirmed to ZioAI. Conan didn't say much, because Akemi is now in a coma, probably forever in a coma. But ZioAI also understood what he meant. She was worried that she might leave some traces after she had contacted her sister before. After Mingmei fell into a coma, the dark organization would definitely search her residence. Originally, Conan was just reminding, but unexpectedly, ZioAI really showed some look of remembering something. Actually, there is one thing I'm a little concerned. In order to make me not worry, my sister put the scenery recorded when she went out with friends from the previous university club and put it on the USB flash drive for me to see. ZioAI said. Because Mingmei is only a peripheral member, she usually has her own life. Except when the organization has tasks, like ordinary girls, she has friends and goes out to play. Disk. How big is the video? Amu was puzzled. When he heard this, ZioAI gave him a blank look and said, do you think that when you are in the organization's research institute, the network will be open to the outside world? Of course you can only use a USB flash drive to upload. It was only then that Eminem realized that it was originally a need for confidentiality, but Shirley was not under much surveillance at that time, and she could still communicate with her sister by email. And then, Conan hadn't heard anything crucial yet. Then, after watching it, I recorded some interesting things and mailed them back to my sister, but then I found out that the USB drive was still in my laboratory. ZioAI's tone was a little inexplicable. Eminem still didn't understand at this time. Actually, I still have a USB flash drive, which is like a pair bought by my sister. There are some experimental materials in it. ZioAI turned her head slightly as she spoke, as if she felt a little embarrassed about being offline this time. Eminem, Conan. Chapter 263. The most high-end leak. That is to say, you may have mailed Team Flare's confidential information? Eminem cleared his mind and asked with a strange expression. Note 1. Shirley's sense of secrecy is too weak. People in the dark organization should not have thought that the most advanced leaks often only need the simplest method. But Shirley didn't pay much attention to it before. Those experimental data are already in my mind, and the data in the USB flash drive is encrypted. Even if people who don't know get it, they won't find anything abnormal, and they will just treat it as broken. ZioAI went back to make up for it. But after ZioAI paused, she had to admit, but now, they think I'm dead, and my sister wants to leave the organization. They will definitely search my personal belongings and my sister's, and I'm afraid they will find, although it has no practical effect if it is discovered by the dark organization. I'm afraid it will not think so. Talk about your previous research institute. Conan still had some unrealistic fantasies at this time. Look at today's world news, the one that exploded in the Carlos area. ZioAI rolled his eyes at him. Conan, but the USB flash drive should also be at your sister's residence, right? I'm afraid they have already been there. Eminem said. Naturally. It should be in that apartment. Fire news. Normally, this is the case, but now that I think about it, I also forgot to tell my sister that I added a new video to it. If my sister didn't watch the content at that time, it is possible that I would directly edit it for the teacher of the club. Zio AI said, guessing point Slim Shady. The dark organization is still very strict in this regard. If a USB flash drive is missing, it will definitely be discovered. Point of course, Eminem felt that it would be better to use this rigor to prevent problems before they happen. Isn't co-authoring very rigorous? Except when killing the mouth. Eminem even felt that if Minmi and Shirley didn't quit the dark organization, it might be more beneficial for the Flash team to be destroyed as soon as possible. Seeing a change in the eyes of Eminem and Conan, Zio AI turned her head angrily. However, I'd better ask that club teacher first. Do you know the contact information of that teacher? I don't know. I only know that it's Professor Zengzi from Nanyang University. Zio AI spread her hands. University, that is, a place where people who determined not to be professional trainers in high school will further their professional knowledge. Point hearing this, Amu opened the illustrated book and looked for the phone number of Nanyang University on the website. Then, in the name of a friend of Yami Mingma's pseudonym, he asked the school for the contact information of Professor Masami. Point according to the public statement, Yami fell into a coma due to a car accident, so as a friend of Yami, it is quite normal to contact Professor Masami to ask for her personal belongings at this time. Point soon Amu contacted Professor Masami, and after simply confirming Amu's identity, Professor Masami also said, "You said the video you disk when you went out to play." Yes, I still feel strange. Yami gave it to me. The USB flash drive was full of files that couldn't be opened, and I thought it was broken. Hearing this, the three of Amu also understood that they had made a mistake. At the same time, both Eminem and Conan looked at Zio AI more and more speechlessly. Good guy, my sister made a mistake and sent out the research materials without saying anything, and my sister didn't even read it. So she just gave it to an outsider. If my sister did not send the wrong USB flash drive, would all the videos recorded in the secret research institute have been exposed? Professor Masami, do you think it's convenient tonight? Sorry, I miss Masami-san so much. Eminem looked like he wanted to get his friend's items as soon as possible. Zio AI desperately rolled her eyes at him. It's not that Eminem is impatient, but that this thing is very dangerous to Professor Masami. It's a bit too late today. It's noon tomorrow. It just so happens that I have many guests tomorrow, and I will be at home all day. Professor Masami said, a little embarrassed. After hearing the words, Amu had no choice but to agree and asked for the detailed address. After the three of them went back, Zio asked suspiciously, why is it taking so long? Who knows? After Amu finished speaking, she found that Zio AI, like herself, looked at Conan tacitly at the same time. Conan, I'm sorry to trouble you again, Zio said apologetically. It was Conan's delay. Zio also wondered, why does Conan always go to the bathroom? In fact, it's not just when I see Emu or Hiji, he often does this too, and often never comes back. By the way, do you want to check it? Zio muttered to herself, sister. Zio. Conan felt bad. Although it was only like this at the crime scene, but now the crime scene has been perfectly integrated into Zio's daily life, so I didn't pay attention to this. Amu said in relief, it's okay. I'll give him some medicine later. Then please. Zio quickly thanked her, and because, after all, it was a boy's problem of frequent urination, Zio was too embarrassed to discuss it with Ando. Conan. Afterwards, Amu said to Zio, by the way, Zio AI and I will go out tomorrow to the Dadao Temple shopping mall. Do you want to bring something back? No. Why do you think of going to the Dadao Temple shopping mall? Zio wondered. Should I buy Zio AI's clothes? Then I'll go. Yuanzi said positively from the side. Hearing this, Amu shook her head again and again and said, no. I'm visiting an elder who helped Zio AI before. It's better not to go to too many people, but this is a reminder to Em. It is true that Zio AI doesn't have any clothes yet. It's true that I need to buy clothes for Zio AI. How about we go to the Dadao Temple shopping mall in the afternoon? You asked Yuanzi for help. After all, Eminem definitely wouldn't choose girls' clothes, and even suspected that Zio AI wouldn't either. Keenly aware of Zio AI, who was silently scorned by Yu, she turned her head and gave him a blank look. Not only did Yuanzi agree, Xiaolan, who was fine, also said that she could go together. Those who have helped Zio AI. I want to go. I want to go too. Conan said bravely. At the same time, Conan also stared at Eminem with white eyes. What kind of reason are you doing? He also specially emphasized, don't have too many people. You should leave me a message. How do I follow this, Conan? No way. Xiaolan quickly stopped her. Eminem also nodded and said, yes, I will take you with me when I buy new clothes. I won't take you to the professor's house. After all, the old professor is not too young to hear his voice, so we can't repay favors, can we? Note 1. This episode really has a prototype, which is a few episodes after Huan AI's official debut. Although there are magic changes, the real cause is that Shirley mistakenly took the floppy disk containing the data as a floppy disk, because of the same appearance. The normal photo was given to my sister. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 264. Fortunately, IDIDN and -039, T bring it with me. You took Zio AI together. First went to AOC shopping mall not far from Professor Zeng's home, briefly bought some door-to-door gifts, carefully collected the shopping receipts, and then went to visit Professor Zeng's home. Papa knocked on the door, and a middle-aged woman who was visibly overweight opened the door. Here we come. You are. The woman with perm was stunned for a moment, and then suddenly said, are you friends of classmate Yami? Hey, what a pity. The perm-haired woman obviously heard her husband talk about Eminem's visit today, and also recognized Yami, so she expressed regret, and said a few words of comfort. Then he led Emu and Zio AI to the study on the second floor. Thump thump. The professor's wife knocked for a long while, but no one responded. Eminem couldn't help feeling tense, and Zio AI looked even more serious. Eminem just wonders if the Conan breath on his body has not dissipated, causing the old professor to encounter some kind of crime, and Zio AI has already suspected that someone from the dark organization did it, but Zio AI thought about it again, and felt that it didn't look like it. If it was them, they should burn down the house with a fire. It's strange. You told me in the morning that there was a guest coming at noon. Did you fall asleep? The professor's wife asked wonderingly. Hold me up. Zio AI looked up and found that there was a ventilation window on the top of the door, so she hurriedly said to Emu, Emu was taken aback when she heard this, but after hearing Zio AI's words, she still put her hands through her armpits and lifted her up high. Zio AI, face inward. Does this mean I'm looking at you? Zio AI said speechlessly. Cheoli? Oh. Only then did Emu realize that Zio AI wanted to look inside the room, so just let Zhengji UI get out of the shadow. No, to be precise, he got in through the crack in the door below Zio AI. Only then did Zio AI realize that she didn't need to see it by herself, but he gave Eminem a blank look even more speechlessly. So just now, I thought that I just wanted you to raise high, right? The professor's wife couldn't help exclaiming when she saw Zhengji UI. Don't be afraid. It's my Pokémon. I'm afraid that the professor will be in danger. Eminem quickly comforted him. Before the professor's wife said what danger could there be, Zhengji UI inside shouted. Someone fell to the ground. Eminem's heart tightened when he heard this. How could it be like this without Conan? If I had known earlier, I might as well have taken it with me. At least I could solve the case. What? Mrs. Professor panicked when she saw this. Eminem said quickly, do you have a spare key? No, the only key is with my husband. Before The professor's wife finished speaking. You had already really started doing with the tonnage of the super armored wild rhino. It didn't hit much, and it felt like he forced the door open. At the same time, Armu, Zio AI, and the professor's wife also saw Professor Masami lying on the ground, and the bookshelf beside him also fell down, and everything was in chaos. Oops. Report to Junsha. Don't destroy the scene of the crime. Eminem said seriously. Well, at least Eminem left a shopping receipt. If the time of death was not long ago, he would have sufficient alibi. After all, we are in the same city with Conan, and Eminem follows the principle of you must keep the receipt when you are innocent, and you must completely destroy the receipt when you want to kill someone. But at this moment, Zio AI calmly took a few steps forward and checked the corpse of Professor Masami. Eminem quickly asked, do you still know forensics? Obviously. The Zio AI in this world is not a scientist in biology. Zio AI glanced at him and said, I don't understand forensic medicine, but I can tell that there is breathing. It's quite stable, slim, shady. Honey, what's wrong with you? The professor's wife hurriedly stepped forward and shook Professor Masami. Just now I heard what Eminem said about the crime scene, and the professor's wife was really taken aback for a while, and then she came back to her senses. No matter how you think about it, people of this age may faint due to their own health. Bigger, and after she shook her, Professor Masami was really woken up. Seeing this, Armu whispered to himself in a voice that only Zio AI could hear, it's a good thing I didn't bring Conan. How could I save him? It was completely thanks to me. Hiss. What's going on? Why did I fall asleep? Professor Masami said, and looked suspiciously at the chaos in the room and the strange Eminem. Hi, Professor Masami, I'm Eminem who talked with you on the phone last night. Eminem quickly introduced himself. Last night? Professor Zengzi was stunned for a while, and then said, oh. By the way, there is such a thing. Why did you come so early? Seeing this, Amu became a little worried. There are also dementias in this world, and the professor is also at this age. Honey, what's the matter with you? Didn't you say that the appointment with Mr. Eminem is at 1 noon? The professor's wife took the initiative. It's already 1 o'clock. Tell me what's wrong with me. Masami looked at the messy room in confusion. Look at the way it looks here. If it's reasonable to speculate, is it because you were climbing up the bookshelf to get something, and then the bookshelf fell down, and you fell down, so you fainted? Zio AI said calmly from the side. The professor's wife looked at her husband reproachfully. Professor Masami also wondered, should know, right? There is nothing on the bookshelf, and I'm also at this age. Even if I want to go up, I will take a good step stool. But this tone, it sounds some guilty conscience. That, Professor Masami, about the USB flash drive. Seeing that there was nothing serious about it, Armu hoped to change the topic. Oh, by the way, I'll give it to you first. Professor Masami seemed to want to change the subject as soon as possible. But then the old professor searched in the drawer for a long time, but he didn't seem to find anything. Seeing this, Eminem already felt a little bad. Strange. Why is it missing? Zengzi said to himself. You sure it's in the drawer? Seeing that he was only looking for the drawer, Armu reminded him, it must be there. All my USB flash drives are here. Why are they gone? Masami was a little flustered as he spoke. Armu frowned when he heard this. It seems that he didn't remember it wrong. It seems that things are not that simple. By the way, you said before that there are other guests in the morning. Are they here? Eminem asked hastily. Come, or didn't you come? Zengzi said and looked at his wife. There was obviously something wrong with his memory, but fortunately, it was only today's memory. The wife said helplessly. I'm not at home this morning. They didn't come here to pick up the USB drive, did they? Zio AI asked keenly. Well, it is indeed 3 people who came to pick up the USB flash drive. Masami said honestly. When Armu heard that there were 3 people, he immediately sighed in his heart for his wit. If Conan appeared with 3 of his enemies, it would be impossible to save the gods. I think it's time to report to Junsha. Armu said calmly. You don't need it? Professor Masami looked reluctant, but the professor's wife had already been persuaded. At present, it seems likely that someone hypnotized you. causing you to coma and lose your memory, and then took away all the USB drives. You'd better check again. There are still many other things missing. ZioAI stood aside analyzed point. When the professor's wife heard this speculation, she hurriedly reported it to Junsha, but Professor Zenx's house did not lose anything else, including his wallet, which was also fine. Chapter 265 I will. Soon, Junsha from Hulan City arrived and investigated the incident of stealing the U-disc after hypnosis study. The police department. The inspection results came out. The victim really showed signs of being hypnotized, and judging from the extracts of the mucous membranes of the mouth and nose, there was no sign of hypnosis powder or mushroom spores. An identification officer come over and report to Hengao Sanwoo, who has a head-shaped instant noodle head point in the police department level. There are still many Junshas who are not Junsha, such as the Shenwu police department in front of you point. After all, it wasn't a big case, only the Shenwu police department, 2 police officers, and identification personnel came. In addition, the surrounding patrol police were mobilized to help collect the testimony of passers-by around point. The most serious thing in this case is the use of Pokémon to hypnotize the victim. If it is just a lost USB drive, it is nothing. Point after Professor Masami underwent a simple inspection, it was discovered that he had indeed been tricked by a hypnosis move. At the same time, dust type moves are excluded after such use. There will be dust residue for a short time. Point in addition, Professor Masami's Pokémon are all short-lived species, and now they have all lived before him. Point there is only one Xiangli cat in the house, which is purely a companion Pokémon, and it has no combat power. It was not in the study at the time, and nothing was found. It's that one of hypnotism, grass flute, yawn, devil's kiss, and singing. Eminem speculated from the side point. Of course, if you have to say it, there are Dark Hole and Ancient Song, but the former is the exclusive skill of the mythical beast Darkly, and the latter is the exclusive skill of the yet to be discovered Milota. Professor should not be so famous, and if it is really Dark Hole, the old man may not be able to wake up easily, and Ancient Song has a damage effect. The professor may not be able to bear it. You also one of the suspects? Shenwu police looked at Eminem with suspicion and disgust. Should I forget it? I came to wake up Professor Masami. Eminem spread his hands and explained. Suspects often return to the scene. Shenwu didn't think this was a reason to remove the suspicion. Point at this time, ZioAI on the side emphasized, it can't be singing and yawning. The effects of these two are relatively soothing. Even if they are used on human elderly, they will not cause this kind of memory decline. Although ZioAI is not a trainer, she is very familiar with the influence of Pokémon skills on the human body. This little girl is. Shenwu Police Department looked at this very knowledgeable little girl wonderingly. It's my sister. Look, I have a child with me, so there is no doubt about it. Amu said, after pulling ZioAI to her side point with his instant noodle head on his head. Shenwu looked at Emu more suspiciously, but your sister understands it very well. At this time, another identification officer came to report. Shenwu Police Department tentatively judged that the victim was hypnotized between 11 am and 12 am. At this time, Amu immediately took out the shopping receipt of the DOC group and showed it to Shenwu. Look, I still have the shopping receipt for 11:45. I can't finish shopping after I bought the professor, and I can't finish shopping before 12 o'clock. Professor Hypnotism. Let me just say that I'm not suspicious at all, right? Enlightenment. Before Shenwu could say anything, ZioAI complained. It's really suspicious, isn't it? How can anyone keep the receipt at this time? I think it's better to arrest him directly. Shen Wu directly asked the subordinates beside him, has his Pokémon been checked? In order to cooperate with the investigation, Eminem had already released all the Pokémon. Point there is no need for subordinates to report this, only to see a Pippi jump out at this moment. I can sing, Jeng. GUI also jumped out. I know, hypnotism, ghost, then. The two pointed to Myo Frog Flower at the side. It can. Grass flute, ghost, slim, shady. What's the use of knowing singing? I told you it wouldn't be singing. Eminem gave Pippi a sidelong glance. When Shenwu first saw a Pokémon so proficient in telepathy, he was also surprised for a while, and then his eyes lit up. So, is it your trainer who wants you to hypnotize this old man? Shouldn't you ask our name first? It's almost a ghost with us. Ask later. You don't understand this, Gissy, Pippi. And ghosts don't talk with you and me. Seeing this, Shenwu immediately adjusted his state and tried to use a calm and comforting tone. Amu guessed that he might be imitating a colleague of True Junsha. After going through the process, Shenwu asked the question just now again. No, Pippi said while picking his nostrils. Really, is there no real Miss Junsha? I really want to feel the ghost. Ghoststone also looked dispirited. Enlightenment. Then the hypnotism and singing you mentioned earlier. Shenwu still wanted to struggle for the last time. I really can sing, can't you say ghosts? I also double bet ghosts on every sentence, so I can rap. Well, it can also play baskets. Pippi pointed at the coffin while talking, but Amu corrected him. You add ghost to every sentence, so it can't be considered a double bet, right? Don't underestimate double bets. Enlightenment. Just when the police department was speechless, the 3 previous guests of Professor Masumi were finally invited. Judging from the current situation, it is also very possible that the 3 of them attacked Professor Masumi and took away all the USB drives. And according to Professor Masumi, the reason why the first 3 came to him was coincidentally all related to the UDISC. The Junshas have also read the text message records of Professor Masumi before and saw the voice message text messages between Eminem and the other 3 people, and the Professor Eminem also sent a voice message with the illustrated book in the morning to confirm the time of the visit. It's all for the UDISC. Shenwu Police Department also looked at Professor Masumi in wonder. Don't look at me like this. I'm super good at editing pictures. Professor Masumi puffed up his chest. Enlightenment. But my things don't need to be repaired. What happened? Called us back again. Is there any new discovery? At this time, the other 3 had also walked in. Among the 3 of them, one is a handsome boy with a fair face, the other is a short fat middle-aged man with a bald head, and the other is, who looks to be in his early 20s with pink hair, slightly older, girl. Huh. Isn't this the owner of the Peony Pavilion? Shenwu immediately recognized the 3rd person when he saw him. Amu looked over in surprise after hearing this. Chapter 266 Suspect. Although it is officially recognized that Peony, the 3rd sister, is not the owner of the gym, and only the elder sister Sakura is the official owner of the gym, but when they were private gyms before and now in private, the 3 sisters are still called the owner of the gym. Yes, as the old police department of Hualan City, Sanwoo certainly knows her. Amu was also a little surprised at this time, unexpectedly meeting a senior sister in advance, but now Mutant doesn't know Amu. Ah. You, the police department? Professor Masumi, are there any important fossils lost? Mutant immediately asked. Apparently, Mutant also understands the approximate severity of the case represented by the presence of the Shenwu Police Department. That's not true. It's just that my USB flash drive is gone. To be honest, I was also hypnotized, and now I don't remember what happened in the morning at all. Professor Masumi said in confusion. Hypnosis? What a bad guy. Mutant obviously couldn't understand this kind of guy who used Pokémon to attack humans. Shenwu first confirmed some basic information with the 3 of them, and sure enough, it was all the same as what Professor Masumi said before. The little white face Aang is here to pick up the photos from the previous school party. Peony is here to pick up the pictures from the previous tour group. The bald Taoist is Professor Masumi's earliest student. And now the 2 are also chess friends, and today they are going to pick up the professor's copy of the ancient chess records. At first glance, there is no reason to do it, but the professor only looked at their USB flash drive this morning. Maybe they accidentally left something in their USB flash drive that they didn't want the professor to see, so they hypnotized the professor and took away all the USB flash drives. I guess everyone's USB drives should be about the same size, right? Eminem guessed from the side. Who is this guy? Mutant frowned and asked Shenwu. Before Emu could introduce himself, Shenwu had already said, the 4th suspect, Slim. Shady. Wait, there is no photo in the USB flash drive I want to get. It was sent by mistake. There is no need for the professor to start retouching the picture this morning. Am I the least suspicious? Armu said immediately. Hey. Zioa I couldn't help but whispered to stop him point. But Masami nodded at this time and said, that's right. There are only programs that cannot be started in your USB flash drive. Enlightenment. Hey. It's your USB flash drive that is the most suspicious, right? Peony resolutely complained. Armu realized that the topic of the USB flash drive should not be continued, otherwise the identity of Yami would be involved in a while. After all, it was not an ordinary car accident, so Armu just whispered, anyway, I have an alibi. After Shenwu Police Department looked at Eminem more suspiciously, he remembered what happened just now, that, the owner of Peony, just now I heard you say, is there any new discovery? At this time, Shenwu seemed guilty, but actually looked at Peony suspiciously. The USB flash drive was stolen, certainly not for the USB flash drive itself. According to what Professor Masami said before, he doesn't even know what's in those 3 USB flash drives, because there are 2 U-disks containing travel photos that need to be retouched. He is retired and has nothing to do. He usually wakes up early and starts retouching. On the 3rd U-disk, he is also planning to copy some chess records this morning. Go in and give it to my student and chess friend. Professor Masami is also procrastinating. At first glance, it seems that there is nothing important in it. What the owner of the Peony Pavilion said about new discoveries at this time immediately caught Shenwu's attention. Mugen said as a matter of course, huh? Don't you know yet? Professor Masami is an expert in fossils. We usually travel in groups and go to the wild where fossils may be found. No, there's nothing new about fossils. It's just that, when we went out together last time, all the photos we took were lost. Professor Matsumi said helplessly. Huh? What are you talking about? Didn't you already give it to me? Peony was puzzled at first, then reacted. Could it be the after effect of hypnosis? At this time, Shenwu Police Department said from the side. That's right. Professor Masami doesn't remember what happened today. But the meaning of this is that the owner of Peony Pavilion met the professor this morning. Right. Well, at 9:30 in the morning, I came to pick up the USB flash drive. The professor was fine at the time, but because there were other pictures to be repaired, we didn't talk too much. Peony said and took it out of her pocket. I just got the USB flash drive and asked, do you want to see it? I'm sorry, let's keep the certificate first. Shenwu Police Department took it, while Newton curled her lips after that. I also asked the other 2 for confirmation. According to what they said, Peony came to take away the photo USB drive at 9:30, Dofu came to take the chess record USB drive at 10:30, and when Aang came at 11:30, no one knocked on the door. And the door was unlocked. So I came to the 2nd floor by myself, and after finding that the study room was also locked, I left. You came in without authorization? Police Department. Shenwu approached Yang menacingly with the face of instant noodles on his face and asked forcefully. It was often like this before. If the professor's wife is not around, the professor is often in the study on the 2nd floor and cannot hear the knock on the door below. Yang said helplessly. Shenwu heard the words and looked at Zhengxi and his wife and saw that they both nodded. According to this self-report, only Yang didn't get the USB flash drive he wanted. So, where were you between 11 o'clock and 12 o'clock? Can anyone prove it? Shenwu asked the key. At this time, Eminem raised his head and chest up. His whole demeanor seemed to be emphasizing I have an alibi. After I got the chess record, I went home and read it right away. My home is not far from here, but my wife is not at home today, and no one can prove it. Dove said helplessly. First, Dolph, didn't your wife go back to her natal family last year and didn't want to come back? When did you bring her back? The professor's wife asked in surprise. Dolph, this kind of thing has nothing to do with the case. That's right, it's not that I'm not at home today, it's that I'm not at home this year. Okay. Dove said angrily. Ahem. It doesn't matter, but I still have to give a truthful testimony. Shenwu coughed twice. Pointer Yang said, I thought the professor was busy temporarily, so I contacted him while wandering around the nearby DOC shopping mall. But I didn't buy anything at that time. I must have been in the Dadao Temple shopping mall, right? I bought this. Peony said in an uncertain tone, obviously very busy today, and raised the shopping bag in her hand as she spoke, but then said regretfully, it's a pity that I specially wore sunglasses and a wig in order not to be recognized. The three sisters are quite popular in Hualan City. If Muden hadn't pretended, someone would definitely prove it. Did you keep the shopping receipt? It can be used as evidence. Amu reminded. What do I keep that for? Peony asked with blank eyes, immediately puffed up his chest, feeling that his shopping receipt was more bright. You guy, who the hell are you? Peony felt that Eminem was weird. Actually, I am. Amu was about to tell senior sister, I'm your thoughtful junior brother at this time. Shenwu checked the communication software logged in on Professor Zeng's computer and found that there were indeed several contact records of Aang on it. If there were no records, it would directly prove that Aang was the most suspicious. At the same time, Shenwu conveniently clicked on the following item. Oh, that's not. Masami was about to say something, but Shenwu had already clicked on it. Hi, Professor Masami, I'm an insurance company, and I would like to introduce you to our new product. Seems like just a sales call. However, Eminem, who was about to introduce himself, stopped talking and looked in the direction of the computer. Then he looked down at Zhao AI and saw that Zhao AI also nodded seriously to him, although there was a simple voice processing. But from the tone of voice, you can still tell that it is vodka. Peony looked at Eminem more and more suspiciously, feeling that this person was so strange. Chapter 267 heard that last voice. Is it vodka? It should be right. Mew and Zhao AI avoided other people at this time, discussing in a low voice. Vodka has appeared, so who attacked Professor Masami is not so important to Eminem and Zhao AI. Isn't it? Just that I lost a few U-discs and lost my memory for a long time. If this is vodka, the house will order it for you. What are you doing? Zhao AI saw that Emu was taking out the illustration book as if she wanted to contact someone, and immediately said with half doubt and half restraint, don't worry, I'm directly contacting Junsha of the Special Operations Team. After that, we will try to catch vodka alive. It's better to catch Jin. Eminem said dreamily. No way. Not to mention the Special Operations Team. Even investigators may not be reliable, and Zhao AI obviously disagreed, but it can't be because of a little probability that no one will believe it. Eminem obviously doesn't agree with this logic point, but Zhao AI shook her head and said, listen to me. More importantly, if your giant fast dragon is really not that restrictive, then you will only want to catch it alive. At least kill Kin by yourself. Wine and vodka? It is impossible to think of asking for help. You must know that you have not told the truth to the Quartz Alliance before. Eminem's expression changed slightly this time. Indeed, if you think about it differently, if Kaoparis can come out and shoot them at will at this time, he will only dislike the Special Operations Team for getting in the way. What's more, Eminem concealed the matter of the huge fast dragon before. If he really wanted to use the power of the huge fast dragon, how could he contact the Special Operations Team? Immediately, Amu's heart tightened. Fortunately, there was Zhao AI, and it was the right decision to cooperate with her. Otherwise, he would have been tempted a big step now. Eminem also understands that it is impossible for Team Flare to think that the giant fast dragon can exert its power without limit. It's just a matter of where the limit is. If the truth is known, there are too many ways to target Eminem. As for now, Amu was also in his heart and contacted Kaoparis. It seemed that it didn't have to continue to sleep, but it just had nothing to do, so it was better to fall asleep. Now its shelter is expanding little by little, although the expansion speed is very slow, but after all, there is hope, and it is not so willing to sleep. If the situation is urgent, it is not impossible for Kaoparis to squeeze most of his body out and slap him again. But he did it this time. but it may not be the case next time. What is more cost effective now is that Chaoparis crosses the boundary and gives Eminem a light wall or something, although it is a skill. But because there is no need to cross the boundary, it is through the special contract between humans and Pokémon the power is directly transmitted to Eminem, so the consumption is much smaller in this way. The minimum security is guaranteed point, and because the basic working principle of light wall is to apply a thing similar to a defensive magnetic field to Amu, although the nature of Chaoparis light wall is completely different from the general light wall. It seems that it can be called an absolute defense, but the essence remains unchanged. It does not reject physical approach, but only repels attacks. So theoretically, if you squeeze together, a few more people can stand beside Eminem and hide together. It's just that Chaoparis can't apply light wall to other people around Eminem in the shelter, otherwise it will consume a lot. It is better to travel directly, and naturally it cannot initiate attacks on other people attack skills in this way. There is a serious problem if you don't call others. Eminem is no match for gin and vodka, even if there is only vodka. Could it be that he hugged ZyoAI and hid in the turtle shell? Then, even if there is no way to get Eminem this time, it will definitely be discovered by the Dark Organization. The restrictions of the giant fast dragon are greater than imagined. This time there is nothing to do, and there will be a next time. Seeing the entanglement on Amu's face, ZyoAI already had a countenance expression, and after admiring Amu's confused expression for a while, she said, "Did you forget? This time you have to feel no coincidentally, it should be those guys. Don't you have a ready-made reinforcement by your side?" Well, ZyoAI is mainly worried. No matter how much you wait, Eminem will come up with some human beings can't think of solutions. After hearing ZyoAI's reminder, Emu's eyes lit up, and then she looked at the peony hall master who was talking to the Shenwu police department. Is it a coincidence? Isn't this? Although Muton is the third sister and is said to be weaker than the two older sisters, she is also a proud student of teacher Jumu. In terms of strength, as a trainer, Eminem doesn't know if she is a king level trainer, but the ace became an absolutely king of heaven point. Even if it's not a Jin opponent, at least vodka is no problem one-on-one, and this is the urban area of Hualan City. Jin and vodka certainly dare not fight for a long time. More importantly, Amu didn't want the senior sister to confront them head on, as long as she cooperated with herself a little. At this moment, Mutant seemed to sense Eminem's gaze, turned her head to look at this weird guy and said, "By the way, what is in your USB drive? Let's not talk about this." Owner of Peony, I haven't finished introducing myself just now. Eminem smoothly changed the subject. Peony was surprised at first. Is it time to say this? Then I was even more surprised, because I only heard Eminem say, "My name is Eminem." Senior sister should have heard teacher Jumu mention me. He stretched out his hand while speaking. Peony was stunned for a while in surprise, then reached out and shook Emu's hand. Immediately, Peony finally figured out the logic and immediately said angrily, "Wait. So you are not practicing intensely and preparing to accept our test? What are you doing here?" Mew was taken aback when he heard the words, but he didn't expect the other party's anger to be here. "This actually has a deep-seated reason," Amu said in a nonchalant manner. Although Muton is a bit shorter than Emu, and even shorter than Zyaksha, but at this moment, she pinches her waist. Even if she looks up slightly, she thinks she has fully captured the style of her senior sister, and still want to ask further. But at this moment, Shenwu Police Department interrupted. So you are that Eminem. It's not surprising that Amu has heard of him from the Shenwu Police Department. After all, it is not only his reputation in pharmacy, but also, Amu has dealt with the Junsha system too much, and Junsha has heard that he is normal. Actually, I heard my teacher, the famous detective Mr. Kagoro, mentioned you, and even my master praised you as still a little clever. I see. Is it because you are rigorous as a detective? No wonder you left a shopping receipt before. I almost doubted you because of this. I'm really sorry. As a fan of Zyo Wulang, Shenwu immediately started talking to his teacher. Slim Shady. Is it because of this reason? That's still true. Nothing to be happy about. Chapter 268 Fishing. It may be because the owner of the Peony Pavilion and another suspect, and even the police department of Shenwu, showed signs of grouping together. The other two suspects were very dissatisfied. On the one hand, he urged Shenwu to solve the case as soon as possible, and at the same time secretly reminded him to don't use public affairs for personal gain. And on the other hand, he proposed to go home, because all that should be said has been said. Seeing the suspect's degree of cooperation drop sharply, Shenwu felt helpless and troubled for a while. After all, although the nature of this case was bad, in the final analysis, it was not a big case. Without sufficient evidence, he could not force anyone to stay point. But at this moment, there was only a sound of keyboards, and everyone looked over, only to see the little girl following Eminem, who seemed to be skillfully operating the computer. No, Kit, you can't tamper with things at the scene of the crime. Shenwu hurriedly stopped him. After Shenwu finished speaking, he was also taken aback, and always felt that this felt a little familiar. It seemed that when Mr. Kaguro solved the case, he often said that about Conan. Could it be to improve reasoning skills? First take your child to work. No, Eminem shouldn't be a detective, right? After looking at Emu, Shenwu made a judgment in his heart. However, unlike Conan's director Zio AI said calmly, this is just a theft case. The personal items of the victims left at the scene, according to the Junsha management law, unless there is a special reason and a headquarters level search is ordered and the approval of the city hall. Otherwise it will not be regarded as exhibits. Shenwu was taken aback when he heard the words. He is naturally aware of this regulation. Just now he was only worried that a child tampered with other people's computers, so he issued a reminder. In fact, this computer is indeed not considered physical evidence. Shenwu was surprised. Why would a child know this? You also watch that kind of program? Shenwu asked in surprise. That kind of program? Zio AI turned her head and looked at him wonderingly. Ahem. It's nothing. I heard from Conan before I realized that there seemed to be some program that would popularize science. I didn't expect. Is it so popular among children? Not right. Obviously my little nephews all like Kamen Rider. But then, this is my computer too? Professor Matsumi whispered. Zio AI's upright look made Matsumi feel a little unconfident. In the final analysis, the cause of this case can already be determined. It must be Professor Matsumi. There is something wrong with the things in the USB flash drive that he saw in the morning. After the owner of the USB flash drive found out, he attacked and took away all the USB flash drives. While Zio AI was speaking, her fingers were flying on the keyboard. At the same time, various interfaces were flashing on the monitor, and there were even pages where codes were entered directly without knowing it, making the people present confused. But I really can't remember. At my age, it should be hard to remember. Professor Matsumi said pointedly. No, the human brain is not trustworthy, but the computer's brain can. In fact, this software will back up all the files that have been opened, and I will call them out now, so that even if they modify the USB flash drive files, and you can also know what the professor has read in the morning. Zio AI looks very good at computers. It's okay. Will it be backed up automatically? Professor Matsumi was also surprised. Of course, some software will also conduct automatic audits. Zio AI said calmly, then suddenly raised her voice and said, I found it. Just open this, and you can see it. What is the file that caused the professor to be hypnotized? At this moment, Yang, who was behind him, couldn't bear the pressure, suddenly shouted, no, wait. Everyone looked over in surprise, and Shenwu said seriously, Mr. Yang, what's going on? His reaction just now was no different from pleading guilty. And Yang obviously understood it very well, and directly put on an OTR pose and said, Professor Zengzi, I'm sorry, it's me. Well, the mosquito incense king you carry with you can indeed use hypnotism. Shen would confirm to him at this time point both his and Dove's Pokémon have been checked before, but both of them have qualified Pokémon. As for the owner of the Peony Pavilion, as a 10-star gym trainer and a professional trainer with 10 badges, ordinary Junsha has no right to inspect his Pokémon, unless approved by the Alliance and Regional Junsha headquarters. However, Peony also generously told the police officer that mastering non-dust hypnosis skills is such a general condition. Of course more than one of her Pokémon meets the condition. Therefore, no one can be ruled out by modus operandi. That's right. I ordered Mr. Mosquito incensed to do this. Aang admitted point at this time. Professor Masami had a slightly dazed look and guessed that he remembered something just now, so he didn't want to go any further, and now he is just completely sure. Aang, how could you do this? The professor's wife said angrily. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm really, very sorry. Aang said with snot and tears. How can you use Pokémon to attack humans? The professor's wife said resolutely. Point Professor Masami. That, is there a more reason to teach him? Professor Masami whispered. For example, he hypnotized your husband or something. Because I mistakenly put the photos of the women's clothes into the USB flash drive. The professor recognized them after seeing them, so Aang took the initiative to explain the motive. Point everyone. At this time, Professor Masami also said seriously, that's right. When you said that, I also remembered. There is still a word that I didn't say to you at that time, although I know that, in order to be a model coordinator, you have done a lot of plastic surgery yourself, and even thought of tricks to play with the beauty of women. But, as your teacher, I still want to tell you that not the most beautiful person can be a coordinator, but the person who is most confident in himself can be a coordinator. Now that you have decided to be a coordinator, you should be more confident in who you are. Professor Zeng's words were deafening and made Aang cry even louder. Thank you for your teaching, but at this time, Genji Ui and Pai Kexi were also on the sidelines. PFFD. It really doesn't look like a person who is proficient in PS can say something. Be more confident about your original appearance. PS is also part of your appearance. Ghost, Professor Masami, everyone. At the same time, ZioAI hit enter and saw a group of data grid fireworks blooming on the screen. This is the small program I just wrote. What are you expecting? A program that backs up and reviews user files privately. How can it survive to this day? ZioAI said to the people who came over as a matter of course. Chapter 269 Exchange. Under ZioAI's phishing, Aang directly confessed his crime and was taken away by Junsha at this time point. At the same time, he also confessed that after he tried out which one of the USB flash drives he stole was his in the internet cafe one by one, he threw the others in the trash can in a small alley on the other side of the commercial street. Junsha at this time it has also been recovered and returned to Professor Zengzi. Because the whole process is in Junsha's process, and people from the Dark Organization dare not do anything, even if they know it. Point. But if you leave it alone, it is estimated that the Dark Organization will take action against Professor Masami within 2 days, and even in the afternoon. Vodka for Insurance made an appointment with Professor Masami. Point. At the same time, Eminem took advantage of the crowd and distracted eyes, and quietly pulled Peony to the side. What? Team Flare? Peony asked in surprise. That's right. The last message just now is probably one of the official members of the Dark Organization in Team Flash that I met at Dr. Zenghu's place. Eminem said seriously. Drive. Zenghu? You were also in his research institute at the time. You didn't train well. What are you doing there? Mutant noticed this again. Point Slim Shady. Fortunately, Peony didn't really delve into it, but was serious. No, it should be prepared with great interest. Point. Although she tried to look serious, Eminem could see a lurking interest in her. Mr. Peony. Amu was about to say something, but Peony stopped him first. You can just call me Sister Peony. Sister. Mutant, when you came, did you attract too much attention, or did you find anyone suspicious? Eminem changed her address graciously. No one noticed. I took off the wig and sunglasses after I entered the door. Didn't even Junsha know it was me before I looked at it? As for the suspicious person, Peony said and looked at Eminem. Point indeed. When the Shenwu Police Department saw Peony, they were also very surprised. It was only when they saw Peony that they knew that the person in contact was her. As for installing bugs, it's not realistic at all. The wireless signal is too easy for Pokémon to detect, and the Dark Organization will not take such a risk. Point from this point of view, gin and vodka, in all likelihood, don't know what's going on here, and at best they are watching outside. Point at this moment, Armu turned her head to look at Zhao AI, and saw her nodded calmly. After getting the signal, Armu knew that Zhao AI also agreed with her side to continue action, so she ordered Mutin, and took down a row of small test tubes from her waist. Point each test tube is only as thick as a little finger, half of which is the cover, and half of which is the transparent body of the bottle. Even though it is made of glass, it is actually very hard. This is. Peony was puzzled when she saw this. The condensed mixed version of the stimulating agent. This one is offensive, this one is defensive. Amu introduced it to Peony. Eminem has also focused on research recently, the concentration of motivating reagents, that is, to make it smaller, and integrate the enhancement effects of special attack, physical attack, special defense. Physical defense, the technicality is not it is too high. Just mix the two medicines, and at the same time, ensure that they are mixed for a long time, and the medicinal properties will not conflict. Because the refining technology required is too high, and besides being convenient to carry, it is not practical, so this kind of medicine cannot be sold as a mass-produced product. In the past, Eminem had to carry a set of incentive reagents, so he could only carry a travel bag, but now he only needs to wear it around his waist. Now Armu has given most of the potions to Mutin. After all, she is the main force. Both physical attack and special attack can be improved. It's really a waste. After listening to Eminem's introduction, Mutin couldn't help curling her lips. At least it's easy to carry. Eminem shrugged, but didn't refute. Indeed, when the motivation effect is in effect, the Pokémon stamina will be consumed at an accelerated rate. Generally speaking, this kind of consumption is worth the money, but it only limits the Pokémon, and cannot be in the motivated state all the time. Most of the physical strength is consumed in useless places. You sure the king level Pokémon can also be used? Mutin confirmed. A Pokémon with a combat power of less than 80,000 is absolutely fine. If it is more than 80,000, there is no guarantee. If it is more than 100,000, basically it can only motivate for a while. It is hard to say whether the Great King will be useful. Armu will test the limit of the medicine before. Honestly, told Peony. 80,000. Mutin muttered. Looking at this, she should really have a Pokémon with a combat power of more than 80,000. Seeing that the Junchus had already left, Professor Masami identified Masami's USB flash drive and handed it to Mew, and was about to put away the others. Armu looked at Zhao AI frequently, hoping that she could interrupt because of her child's status. But she just gave Armu a blank look and turned her head away. Just when Eminem was hesitating, should hear half of the photos are thrown out, which is more obvious seeing that this is an old photo. It is a man and a woman. The man is obviously Professor Masami, with exactly the same face shape, and the woman, looking at Professor Masami's wife, I can only say that time is a butcher's knife. Aunt Dengzizi, you were so beautiful when you were young. Mutin complimented the professor's wife, who was tidying up. Eminem keenly felt that Professor Masami in front of him froze when he heard it. Mrs. Dengzizi looked up in surprise, and after seeing the photo in Mutin's hand, Lian, this photo of you is. Dengzizi was still used to calling Mutin by her pseudonym. Although she knew her real identity, she usually used a pseudonym to avoid social troubles when she took part in fossil trips. It fell out of this book. What's wrong? Mutin looked at Aunt Dengzizi with a puzzled face. Honey, shall we go over and talk? Dengzizi looked at her husband with a smile on her face. Well, I'll go see Eminem off. Masami's face was covered with cold sweat. However, Dengzizi pulled him away involuntarily, and then heard faint voices from the next door. You still have her picture, I said. Why do you feel guilty when you mention what is on the bookshelf? Why don't you climb the bookshelf? It's time to kill you. and other sounds. Just when Eminem was secretly thinking of being lucky, she suddenly realized that the expression on Peony's face was not unexpected, but satisfied. Suddenly, in her heart, she was even more in awe of the senior sister. Then Peony decisively exchanged her shopping bag with the one containing the USB flash drive, pretending that she took it by mistake. Aang didn't lie about this before. He did go to the DOC shopping mall, but the time was wrong, and he didn't buy nothing. The USB flash drive was conveniently packed in the bag of the DOC shopping mall, which is the same as the bag of Peony. Chapter 270 Deception. Old thing. Cough cough. Honey, Lianlian's things are left here. Mrs. Deng Zizi hurriedly came to the living room to find her husband. After seeing Muden's pocket called point at this time, Professor Masumi was talking with a fat insurance salesman, and he was looking at the list of insurance types in his hand. Vodka was well prepared. Not long ago, Junsha had just visited, so Kinjiu didn't even think about doing it today. Given the importance of Professor Zengzi, it is not worth alarming Junsha for him. Otherwise it is easy to guess whether the incident is related to those udisks. Jin has already mastered the general situation of the case, but I don't know the specifics to tell. For example, when he and Vodka were watching, they found that Eminem had also come, but the owner of the Peony Pavilion was not recognized. Professor Masumi was just chatting with Quilt Routines, and naturally he didn't talk about specific details. So Jin and Wine also had doubts about why Eminem came here. I remember she should have taken it when she left. No, please check. Are those USB drives still there? Professor Matsumi looked at the shopping bag and immediately remembered something. Disk. Mrs. Deng Zizi was taken aback when she heard this. It's also in the bag of Deo Temple. Professor Matsumi reminded. That's gone. There is only one such bag in the house. Mrs. Deng Zizi said confidently. This kid is real. It must have been taken by mistake. Professor Matsumi said helplessly. Udisk. Vodka's small eyes lit up. At the same time, the attention was focused on the Jin outside, because Junsha had left, so Vodka kept the communication, so that Big Brother could hear the conversation here. But what Vodka didn't discover was that in the pocket left by Peony, there was also a bugging sticker invented by Dr. Rayleigh. So at this time, Eminem and Muden are already getting ready with great interest. Soon Vodka left with an excuse, which once made Professor Masumi wonder why the insurance seller is not enthusiastic enough today. After the vodka came out, he looked around to make sure that no one was following him, and then he came to meet Jin not far away. Brother, just now. When Vodka was about to speak, Jin directly interrupted him and said, hush. Seeing this, Vodka followed the eyes of Big Brother and saw a girl with short grey hair and a baseball cap was rushing to the professor's house with the shopping bag from Deo. I met this person not long ago with Jin and Vodka. There were 4 people who went to the professor's house. One was Eminem they knew, and the other 2 were middle-aged men and young men. Lion also. Who could it be? So Jin and Vodka immediately followed, taking advantage of no one around. Vodka took the initiative to greet from behind. Is this Miss Lion? At this time, Vodka is still dressed as an insurance agent. Although it is also a black suit, it does not have such a strong sense of oppression, nor does it wear sunglasses. At least it does not look like a bad guy. You are? Peony asked, pretending to be puzzled. I'm the nephew of Professor Zengzi. Because something happened to Uncle Zengzi's house just now, I went to visit him. I happened to be at Uncle Zengzi's place and saw your photo. Are you going to see Uncle Zengzi? Vodka reluctantly put on an honest look. That's right. I took the wrong thing just now, Peony said, hitting her head with a small fist. Vodka, Jin, spying Eminem. Fortunately, although the Peony scene was over, the Vodka just shook the goosebumps and didn't think much about it. I'm sorry, Uncle Zengzi was a little unwell just now and went to the hospital. Auntie also accompanied him. Vodka apologized. Which hospital is it? Muden asked hastily. Vodka casually reported a hospital and said, I happened to be driving and I will go to the hospital to visit Uncle Masumi later. Why don't we go along the way? Okay, then I will trouble you. Peony seemed unsuspecting. After that, Vodka led Lion to the alley where Jin was located. My car is parked there. The parking space here is really small. Vodka kept talking to her in order to dissuade Lion from being wary and to keep her from contacting Professor Masami. Just when he turned into an alley with few people, Vodka suddenly exerted force and snatched the shopping bag from Lion. "Ah. What are you doing?" Peony asked, pretending to be surprised. "You. Ah." Vodka was about to answer, but just as he opened his mouth, Jin noticed that the shopping bag vibrated abnormally and quickly shouted, "Throw it away." Before Vodka could react, he just turned his head to look at Jin in a daze, and Jin had already drawn his sword quickly and chopped towards the shopping bag in Vodka's hand point at the same time. The abnormality observed by Jin was immediately verified, and a blooming mushroom was the first to burst out of the bag. The name of the mushroom, the name sounds very strange, and its naming principle is also very strange. Its sun-evolved body is a oval mushroom whose canopy looks like a pokeball at first glance, which is similar to this is Pokeball? Oh no, this is the naming principle of mushrooms. After evolution, because of the extra hands and a small canopy on each of the hands, it will never be mistaken, so it is named Blooming Bull Mushroom point, of course, because of the canopy of both hands. Blooming Bull Mushroom also has a common name, Shield Mushroom point. Peony's Blooming Mushroom broke the bag and immediately doubled its shield to meet the sword blade of Jin's sword monster. Just heard the sound of like hitting gold and iron. Kin Jiu was also very surprised. At this time, the sword of the sword monster with a dark red light was blooming, which was wider than the actual sword. It was clearly that he had used the fighting skill, Holy Sword, but was still resisted by shield mushrooms. Hold. Kin Jiu can naturally see that the other party has used defend, but facing the attack of his big king level ace, the sword monster, even the Pokémon that has just reached the heavenly king level, defend, cannot completely defend. The damage can only be greatly weakened. It can be seen that this shield mushroom, at least it is also a Pokémon with a combat power of 80,000. At the same time, the other elf balls in the bag were also released at this time. The bamboo hat mushroom, the big food flower, the wind fairy, and the same frog flower and coconut egg tree as Eminem. The latter is also the reason why these elf balls are automatically turned on at this time point. Although Peony doesn't have super talent, but under the stimulation of the grass plus superpowered Pokémon coconut egg tree, at least one has the power to open the Pokeball at close range. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 271 Street Fight. Peony had prepared long ago, put the elf ball in the shopping bag, and mixed it with a bunch of USB flash drives. Jin and Vodka were also caught off guard. It's a pity that Jin was too vigilant, so he discovered it first, otherwise it would have been more effective. 6 grass type Pokémon appeared on Peony's side, and all of them had a combat power of more than 80,000. Which is a proper king level combat power point. On Lith there are 3 of them whose combat strength is only over 60,000 after using Eminem's incentive potion, and goes straight to 80,000, including the shield mushroom. After the potion is increased, the combat strength on paper is only 80,000, so she is not actually a king level trainer. However, 2 of the other 3 Pokémon that were originally at the level of Heavenly Kings had already touched the edge of 100,000 combat power. That is, they were not far from the combat power of the Great Heavenly King point. As soon as the Peony's frog flower fell to the ground, it immediately stretched out vines from its back and rolled towards the Jin and Vodka directly. Fortunately, after being blocked by Jin, both of them had time to release Pokémon. 6 steel type kings and 6 ferocious Pokémon also appeared at this time. Obviously, Vodka is also a rare non-attribute oriented trainer. Just like Aegis sword type, which tends to tame Pokémon with weapons, Vodka should be regarded as a violent type and has nothing to do with attributes. He seems it's a Pokémon that tends to be fierce. In front of Jin, Boscadora flicked its tail and easily swept away the surrounding vines, while the big steel snake released by Vodka stood in front and seemed to be entangled by the opponent, but afterwards, He rolled on the spot, which soon caused my ahua to loosen in pain. However, the two were still a step behind. Except Fujin's sword monster, which had been transformed into a pendant and stayed outside. The other Pokémon of the two had just come out of the Pokeball. As for Peony, who has been prepared for a long time, 5 of the 6 Pokémon have the effect of Enable Potion. It comes with a skill once when it comes out. As for why there are only 5, it's not that Armu loves a potion, but Peony's strongest frog flower, which cannot be charged with Armu's Enable Potion. On Peony's side, Myo frog flower is more like a cover. Taking advantage of its vines, Wind Fairy landed with a light wall and then took a Shunfeng without hesitation. The characteristic of this Wind Fairy is mischievous heart. All non-damaging skills can be activated first. That is, they can be overdrawn. It was originally in the energy storage state, but after using light wall, I immediately overdrawn a tailwind. The effect is to accelerate the skill energy storage, of course. How much effect and quantity of this type of skill can be maintained depends on one's own ability. For example, light wall. If you use it for yourself, or you sit one-on-one with Pokémon of similar strength, the damage will be almost halved, and the greater the number, the effect will be weakened. Similarly, if it is a king level Pokémon, the effect of reducing damage taken by ordinary match level Pokémon is not just half, but conversely, match level Pokémon is used by king level Pokémon, then it will not be effective. I saw that Wind Fairy was used at this time, and it was only used on Wonderful Frog Flower, Coconut Egg Tree and Bamboo Hat Mushroom. Obviously these 3 are the main force of Peony. 2 of them overlapped with Eminem. The other big food flower, which was partial to support, directly used Sunny Sky, and then Coconut Egg Tree began to soar. Sunbeam. The steel type has a resistance effect on the grass type, so the target of the Coconut Egg Tree also chooses the weaker vodka Pokémon first, and Bamboo Hat Mushroom was greedy for a wave of Sword Dance, and then directly relied on 4 stages, 2 stages of potion, 2 stages of Sword Dance, to strengthen physical attack, 2 stages of physical defense enhancement, and faced a giant that was much stronger than itself. Clamp Mantis fists. I saw that both sides were in the posture of boxers at this time. How could they punch to the flesh? Jin's 2 trump cards are sword monster and giant pincer mantis. 2 Pokémon are like boxers attacking each other. You come and go. They also fight very excitingly outside of their skills. And, the skills are ready almost at the same time. Giant pincer mantis is stronger, but it can't stand the strengthening effect of Bamboo Hat Mushroom. I saw the double pincers of the giant pincer mantis crossing. The dark green energy condensed into a cross, and a cross cut, slashed towards the Bamboo Hat Mushroom, and the Bamboo Hat Mushroom did not show any weakness. The dark red energy wrapped in the fist also greeted come up, and just when the moves were about to collide, Dahlia Mushroom slightly twisted its waist, but actually avoided it, and didn't hit head on. Of course, he couldn't dodge the attack, but he chose injury for injury. Both sides suffer relatively little damage in the attacking moves, but if the battle is prolonged now, the situation is not good for Peony. And the tactics of the Bamboo Hat Mushroom are naturally very unrestrained. As soon as it dodged, the fists of both sides stuck to each other's chest at the same time. Then both of them were stressed, and both feet moved backwards for a while. But then, the stamina of the Bamboo Hat Mushroom inexplicably picked up a bit. What it used just now was a absorbing fist, which also chose to exchange injuries for injure is one of the reasons immediately. The giant pincer mantis did not rest, although it could not fly, but under the trembling of its wings, it quickly sprinted towards the Bamboo Hat Mushroom, and at the same time, the pair of pincers showed a metallic luster, which was impressively the preemptive attack of the steel system. Skill Bullet Fist. However, the Bamboo Hat Mushroom has also stood still at this time, carefully guarding against. Just as the giant pincer mantis jumped, a pair of peaks pierced the ears from top to bottom, and the steel force pinched the Bamboo Hat Mushroom on the double clamp, pounding towards the chest and abdomen of the giant pincer mantis that swooped down. The Bamboo Hat Mushroom also brought a fighting type preemptive skill, Sonic Fist. A round of injury for injury caused both sides to fall backwards. However, when the two sides fell on their backs, they saw a very different situation around them. The Pokémon of Gin and Vodka with the completion of skill accumulation, has basically recovered from being unprepared and began to counterattack. On the other hand, Mutant's side became more and more unfavorable as the war progressed. After the first mover advantage was gradually consumed, the decline was obvious. After all, if they were fighting on an equal footing, Peony would be at most 50/50 with vodka, which is the first mover advantage that only depends on potions and this kind of wild fight, although Peony has not experienced it, but the experience is definitely not as good as the Jinan vodka of the Dark Organization, but psychologically speaking, gin and vodka are also stressful. After all, this is the urban area of Hualan City. With such a big commotion, Junsha must have rushed over by now. Especially Mutant's two older sisters. At this time, Peony's hat and wig had also fallen off, and the obvious hair color characteristics, as well as the Pokemon's configuration, also made Jinjiu recognize the true identity of the visitor, the three Hualan sisters. If it's 3vs2, even Gin and Vodka can't handle it. After all, Mutant is only the weakest of the three sisters. Chapter 272. Shocking. The prepared pharmacist is indeed very strong. Peony is now enjoying the pleasure of burning money. If it is not for the comprehensive potion increase, she will at most single out vodka, but now, relying on the comprehensive improvement of Pokemon's attributes and its own energy storage, it suppressed the two of gin and vodka first. But pharmacists, or medicines, are not omnipotent. It can be seen from Mutant that even a pharmacist at Eminem's level can only perfectly assist a Pokemon that has just reached the heaven leaking level. That is, a Pokemon with a combat power of around 60,000. Ineffective, more than 100,000, and even the 120,000 standard of the Great Heaven Leaking is basically invalid. Because of the special genetic form of Pokemon, when it is strengthened, it will be 1 to 6 stages, and if there is no 1 stage, it will be invalid. So the effect of incentive potion is not linear at this time. Among Peony's Pokémon, the originally strongest frog flower, because the medicinal effect was discounted on it, basically only improved by 1 level, so the performance was not as good as other Pokémon. To some extent, this also symbolizes that the pharmacist system in this world is actually a big step behind the trainer system. For a pharmacist at Eminem's level, if his achievements in pharmacy are converted into trainers, he can be regarded as the master of the 8 great pavilions. And he can even compete for the level of the 4 Heavenly Kings. But now it seems that it is a little bit reluctant for Eminem to perfectly assist a trainer in a 10-star gymnasium. At this time, Armu was so anxious that he stomped his feet in the DOC shopping mall. On the upper floors of the DOC shopping mall, he could see the alleys over there, and many people were already watching. Someone had already reported to Junsha. Originally, it was agreed that Peony only needs to fight a little bit, relying on the effect of the potion to survive the wave, and then lead the 2 of them to her. Then naturally there is a way to deal with it. But seeing that Peony is a bit superior, and seeing the advantage at the beginning, she immediately fell in love with fighting, and now, some can't get away. Seeing this scene, Armu, who was using a telescope in the distance, had no choice but to go to the rescue first. But Armu was not sure. After all, there were only so many medicines with him, and most of them were given to Peony. Even if Armu is on the scene, the role he can play is limited, so he can only delay a little longer, hoping that the Junshus will arrive soon. But just when Eminem was about to go downstairs, wait. Genji UI reminded. Armu hurriedly looked over, only to see a sudden change in the battle situation. I don't know where, but another trainer came out. Fire-breathing camel, cold turtle, flame-exploding turtle beast, 6 fire-type Pokémon. They are no weaker than vodka. That is to say, it is similar to the Peony without potion boost. At this time, helping Peony fight against the enemy immediately caused Jinan vodka to be in a hurry. On the one hand, the opponent suddenly strengthened their reinforcement, and on the other hand, the movement of the fire type skills was too great. Don't even think about it now. It must have alarmed everyone around. Huh. You are Peony seemed to recognize the person who came. Eminem didn't recognize him, but he had seen this person before. The trainer was standing on a low roof in the alley, wearing a green peaked cap and a scarf. If he had teamed up with Mutant from the very beginning, maybe he would have a chance, but now Mutant's Pokémon has already been exhausted, and its decline is irreversible. Peony got the chance, and this time she finally knew that she couldn't do anything else, so she hurriedly greeted. This way. The man in the green peaked cap hesitated for a moment and followed Peony to the crowded place. In fact, he didn't know what Peony and that brat were planning. Simply speaking, from the situation at the scene, he didn't want to escape like this. Go to a crowded place. What if we hurt ordinary people? Fortunately, the previous fight had already alarmed the surroundings. At this time, there were basically no passers-by on the small street. Peony climbed on the back of Myo Frog Flower, and the man in the green peaked cap also rode on the fire-breathing dragon and flew along at low altitude, breathing fire behind him from time to time. The two fought and retreated all the way, giving passers-by some time to escape, but no casualties were caused. Jun Sha didn't come from there. The green peaked cap couldn't help reminding Mutant actually didn't know why she led them there, but out of trust in her junior brother, she still said, I have a solution. Gin and vodka are also hard to get off. If they fled in the direction of Junsha headquarters, the two of them would have given up. But after Mutant took to small streets, she brought them to Dadao Temple Shopping Mall. It is true that there are security guards in the Dao Temple Shopping Mall, but it shouldn't be able to turn the tide of the battle, right? Seeing that, Peony and the green peaked cap rushed out of the small street and came to the large traffic post at the entrance of Dadaosi Shopping Mall. Because of the Pokémon that rushed out suddenly, the traffic was congested for a while. At this time, Peony dismissed the drivers loudly, urging them to abandon their cars and leave field. This is what Eminem explained before. Gin and vodka have also caught up by this time. However, seeing this scene, Jiu's heart skipped a beat. Looking up, Jin precisely saw Eminem behind the viewing window on the upper floors of the shopping mall. Although they were far apart, the two almost looked at each other at this moment. I saw Eminem looking at himself expectantly, as if was waiting for him to come out. Wait, vodka, don't go out. Jin stopped immediately. Huh, brother? Vodka still didn't understand what happened. Jin took the vodka and hid in a side alley first, only showing half of his face to peek in Eminem's direction. Brother. After a short delay, an alarm bell sounded faintly. Let's go. Jiu turned directly onto the steel-armored crow, and the steel-armored crow lifted vodka from its paws, and the two walked away. Although there are flying Pokémon taking off in Junsha at this time, they can't catch up. Seeing that he had thrown off the pursuers for a while, Vodka had time to ask, brother, what happened just now? It's that bastard, Eminem. Jiu's expression was also very bad. Ah, he's in the Dao Temple Shopping Mall? Then Vodka hasn't reacted yet since Eminem didn't make a direct move. It is likely to be the huge fast dragon, which is very restrictive and even out of his control. It's just a coincidence in the Zhenghu Research Institute, right? No, that Peony obviously lured us there on purpose. It must be to let us go to an open place. Jiu had a very keen insight. Open? Could it be? Vodka broke out in a cold sweat. That's right. He must be able to call out the huge fast dragon. Jiu had already seen through Emu's sinister intentions. He definitely wanted to call out the huge fast dragon in an open place and slap himself to death. Butamu, or Zioai, also saw through him. If you look carefully at this time, you will find a small figure, with its back facing behind Eminem's legs, turning its head and sideways, to look at the direction where Jin's steel-armored crow left. Chapter 273 Space Rules. Seeing Jin leave, Eminem also heaved a sigh of relief. Just now I wasn't completely bluffing. If Jin and Vodka were really exposed to some good position, then it wouldn't be impossible for Eminem to urge KO Paris to give him some. Although it can't fight for a long time, it still has the power of a single blow. Although Team Flare is big and Dark Organization is strong, as long as Jin is dead, the threat is at least half less. After After the Jin was sent away, the undercover content in the dark organization became even more out of control. However, the best expectation is still to scare Jin away, because Eminem is not sure that he can succeed with one blow. If it fails, it will directly expose the fatal weakness of the giant fast dragon not being unable to fight for a long time, but simply unable to appear completely for even a second. Now that Jin has escaped, just as Emu wanted, this will make Jin even more convinced that Emu is not only not cowardly, but is still trying to trap and kill him, and according to Zio AI, in this way, Jin will also make a big misjudgment about the limitations of the huge fast dragon, understanding it is too huge, unable to use in narrow areas, not easily appears in densely populated areas, directions like that, outside Hulan City. After throwing off the pursuing Junsha, Jin and Vodka were resting in the field. What? Brother, you mean we were almost trapped by that guy just now? Vodka asked in surprise. After being silent, Jiu said, 9 times out of 10, I saw him and felt his murderous intent at that time, so he appeared at that professor's place because he found something and was waiting for us to go there? Vodka suddenly asked. It should be like this, Jiu said sullenly. Damn. No wonder that peony is there. Vodka angrily thumped the tree. Jiu was silent for a while, but he didn't feel that it was planned for Peony to be there. Otherwise, wouldn't it be more confident to come directly with the 3 sisters? Brother, that professor, Vodka, was about to ask for instructions, but Jin directly shook his head and said, don't worry about him. He's not an important guy anyway, and what he lost was just a USB flash drive for ordinary photos, just as Zio AI thought. Jiu almost gave up the line of Professor Zengzi, knowing that it was a trap. There was no need to try it again. After all, Professor Zengzi was not involved in anything important. As for wanting to silence Professor Masumi before, it was because he felt that there was no danger in killing him, and he was confident that he would not cause any waves. The Jin, which disregarded human life, was naturally casually destroyed. Brother, speaking of which, can that kid really call out that monster at any time? Vodka didn't know how to describe the huge fast dragon. It can't be at any time. But it seems that being in the research institute before was not a trick, Jiu said firmly. If it is really at any time, then there are too many things that Eminem can do, and there is no need to hide it. Then, hearing this, Vodka became entangled immediately. Originally, he really wanted to kill Eminem with his own hands. After all, he was injured a lot before, and even now he hasn't recovered. Restrictions. There must be more restrictions. At least in narrow places, it is not easy for that monster to appear, and in places with many people, he will also have scruples. Jiu followed Zio's thinking and thought of this 2 o'clock point. Although these restrictions are not wrong, they are obviously not the key points. They are just exposed by Eminem on purpose. It is true that the huge fast dragon is not suitable for use in narrow places, such as caves, such as underground, such as inside buildings. Similar restrictions. In fact, ordinary Pokémon also have some space restrictions, such as the roaring whale king, the Alola coconut tree, and even the vodka steel snake. It's just that even the biggest roaring whale king is far less restrictive than the huge fast dragon. Even Gigamax Pokémon are nowhere near the size of Cheoparis. Indeed, my iron head is often inconvenient to use. Vodka had an expression of Big Brother is wise as for Ironhead. It was the name of his big steel snake. This weakness, whether it is big or small, it is not non-existent. Jiu silently wrote down, maybe there will be an opportunity to use it in the future. At the same time, Zio AI was also talking about the same thing with Eminem, so Jin should now believe that one of the weaknesses of the giant fast dragon is that it cannot be released in a narrow place, and that you yourself will be concerned about places with many people. But he should not think that there are only these 2 weaknesses. Zio AI is analyzing. At this time, Eminem thought about it and asked, by the way, if you release the Pokémon in the Pokéball in a sealed and crowded place, what will happen? Generally speaking, if the body that provides the restraint is a non-living body, and the strength of the restraint is not as strong as the body of the released Pokémon, it will be broken or squeezed away. Although ZOAI is not a trainer, she really knows these basics. For example, plastic bags, clothes pockets, etc. are generally broken, and if they are relatively light and can be moved, they will be squeezed away. Non-living body? What's the difference? Eminem found doubts, didn't there be news last week? Someone got a Pokeball stuck in the internal rectal sphincter, and it was finally removed by surgery. In this case, there is no need to worry about the Pokémon popping out and killing people. ZOAI said very calmly. For scientists, the internal rectal sphincter and so on are all normal body parts, and there is nothing difficult to say. Ahem. Don't read those messy news. Amu choked. ZOAI curled her lips. I'm not really a child. Want to be widowed. Amu suddenly remembered something and said, but I remember. It seems that someone was accidentally swallowed by the Howler Whale King and released a Pokémon in its stomach. After communicating with the Howler Whale King, it was spit out. Of course, the Howler Whale King's body is almost hollow, and there is enough space in its stomach, so there is no obstacle. ZOAI said naturally. In addition, if the surrounding obstacles exceed the physical strength of the Pokémon. For example, if the release ray of the Pokeball is irradiated into an iron ball with insufficient space, the release of the Pokémon will also fail. In fact, if you slow down the process of releasing the Pokémon, you can see that the release beam first outlines an outline of the same volume as the Pokémon, and then the Pokémon will appear. If the outline is incomplete, the outline of the Pokémon will be released. Behavior will also be interrupted. ZOAI continued to answer questions. There is no need to worry. Pokémon will be strangled to death because of insufficient release space, so that's how it is. The setting of the Pokeball is really thoughtful. Eminem said with emotion. At this time, ZOAI glanced at Eminem with caring eyes and then corrected. This is not the function of the elf ball, but an inherent phenomenon in this world when space overlaps, which is part of the space rules. Rules? Can you understand? Just like objects with an average density less than liquid will float, the same is true for space transfer. You can understand that the object itself has an index of space density, and the material filled space also has an index of space density. After comparing the two, it must be able to float before it can be transferred. ZOAI gave an example, so that's how it is. The rules of space are really considerate. Eminem corrected his statement embarrassingly. If it's an ordinary trainer, it's normal not to know this. But, as a student of Dr. Chumu, Eminem is still a little embarrassed to ask ZOAI to educate him about this. Of course it is considerate. After all, the position of the god of space has already been taken by Porkia. ZOAI said in a natural tone. And Amu was taken aback when he heard the words god position. It seems that ZOAI also knows a lot about divine beasts, and this is not knowledge that can be found on the internet. Chapter 274 God position? God? What is a god? Eminem asked quickly. Coming to the Pokémon world, Eminem is naturally curious about the divine beasts, especially in this strange Pokémon world. The status of divine beasts is much higher than that in animations and comics for ordinary Pokémon. Humans don't say they have studied it thoroughly, at least they can say they understand it very well. However, human beings not only know very little about divine beasts, but most of what they know is also confidential. The only things that can be found on the internet are some eyewitness records and the analysis of non-governmental experts. As for the official, it is said that the major alliances, as well as the high-level officials of the Junsha clan and the Joai clan, etc., are all connected with the beasts, but they will not reveal too much information about the beasts. At first hearing that ZOAI seemed to know something, Eminem was still surprised, but after thinking about it, there was nothing strange about it. After all, apart from the high-level executives of the major alliances, these regional level violent organizations are the ones who know the most about divine beasts. Even most of them target sacred beasts. Although Team Flare's ultimate goal is not a mythical beast, it's not surprising to know something about it. Let's not talk about this. Junsha is here. ZOAI reminded in a low voice. At this moment, the two of them had just come down from the Dadao Temple shopping mall, and Junsha also came up. To greet them, Peony had already left with Junsha, presumably to record a statement point. Although we know that the owner of the Peony Pavilion is obviously the party of justice, we still need to understand the situation, especially when it comes to Team Flare. Mutant must have talked to Junsha about the matter of Armu, the mastermind, and Armu didn't want to hide it. Miwako, we met again so soon. You've been really busy lately. Armu greeted each other. After seeing her, Miwako, I'm usually not so busy. Miwako said pointedly. Well, it is not surprising that Miwako came here for the Zenghu Research Institute and the Special Operations Team, so it is not surprising that she is still in Hualan City at this time. Huh? Who is this child? Miwako looked at Zhao Ai suspiciously. Zhao Ai also pretended to be shy at this time and hid behind Eminem with a timid expression. Oh, this is my sister. Don't be afraid. Remember to find Sister Junsha if you have difficulties in the future. Armu led Zhao Ai out and said although Zhao Ai secretly pinched Imu's hand hard, but with her current strength, no matter how hard she squeezed, it would be difficult to do anything. Afterwards, Eminem went to the Junsha headquarters in Hualan City with Miwako and explained the incident with ease. Of course, I didn't mention the part related to Kaoparis and Zhao Ai and the excuse for the replacement. Zhao Ai has already thought of it for him. The reason for knowing Yami and going to see Professor Masami was changed to I heard some members of the Flare team mention it when I was in the research institute. Now there is no proof. Later, I happened to recognize Vodka's message and I happened to meet senior sister, so I thought of this plan. These are not lies, it's just that in the end, she asked Mutant to lure people to the Dadao Temple shopping mall. Eminem evaded and said that he had a powerful potion that could solve the problem. Don't ask, it's a secret. The last excuse is not very clever, but Amu didn't want to hide it from anyone. The reason given to the alliance is equivalent to I don't want to say, and for the undercover agents of the Dark Organization, Eminem's intention is the huge fast dragon, which they already know. Miwako is also helpless about this, because the basic order of the world is different. Mediheezy didn't say anything like you civilians don't care about these dangerous organizations. Just report to Junsha next time you encounter it. After all, the trainers of this world are themselves a group that wields power, and they are also part of the social order. It is because most of the trainers do not recognize the underworld organizations, but recognize the Alliance and Junsha. So the society is what it is now. To fight against these underworld organizations, the participation of trainers is indispensable. This is originally part of the trainers' social responsibility. Neither Junsha nor the Alliance can let them go away or let me come. But Mediheezy still wanted to say at this time. Speaking of which, why didn't you report to Junsha to fight against evil? The trainer can't be absent, but Junsha can't be absent without Eminem answering. Miwako added, it is true that the Flame team is special. Maybe the Special Operations team and even the top management of the Alliance are not 100% reliable, but at least I'm reliable in your eyes, right? As Miwako spoke, her tone became serious, and she approached 2 more steps, which also forced Eminem to lean on the back of the chair to avoid it. Apparently she was questioning Armu even if it is for the sake of confidentiality and not to report to Junsha. It is always okay to contact herself directly, right? Of course I believe in Miss Miheezy, but Miheezy is a member of the Special Operations team after all, and it would be too risky to act privately. Amu quickly explained. Compared with the Black Organization in Conan, the higher-ups of the Special Operations team must have informants or collaborators of the Flame team. If because she believed in a certain Junsha, she rashly let her get involved as an individual, I'm afraid that some accidents would happen soon. At least she would be left idle. When Miwako heard what Eminem said, although she was not reconciled, she couldn't refute and rubbed her short hair. Brother, I'm hungry. Zhao Ai came over at this time and said in a very small voice, but Mediheezy could just hear it. I'm sorry little sister, my sister invites you to eat. Mediheezy said hastily, I don't want to eat at Junsha's headquarters. Zhao Ai said aggrievedly. Miwako stared at Eminem. What have you taught the children? Why does such a young child hate Junsha? In this world, normally speaking, Sister Junsha is very popular among the people. Okay, but hearing what ZioAI said, Mediheezy has nothing else to do, so she had to let Amu go back first. Although after listening to Eminem's explanation, it's hard to ask for anything more, but the eyes seem to be saying call me next time all the time. After leaving the Junsha headquarters building, Amu suddenly said, by the way, what I said before about the restrictions on Kaoparis. There is one thing that you don't quite understand. I just confirmed it with it. What? ZioAI asked suspiciously. Actually, whether it's in the cave or the underground space, it's not absolutely impossible to let Kaoparis come out, but it's best not to do it. After all, the cave will collapse. Amu said seriously. Point, that's right. In fact, Eminem just confirmed with Kaoparis, with the physical strength of Kaoparis, even in Eugian Mountain, it can break through the mountain. Of course, the premise is that it has enough energy to come out. Like a lot of people around worry about accidental injury, most of the narrow environment, Eminem is just concerned. After all, it will destroy the environment. ZioAI's eyes light up when she hears this, and she looks more pleasing to the eye. It seems that this backer is still very reliable. Mr. Kaoparis is so strong. Then, doesn't it have a god position? ZioAI mentioned this word again. Which god are you talking about? Amu was about to ask when he suddenly saw Peony point, and at this time, senior sister Peony was being reprimanded by the other two big sisters. At first she lowered her head and didn't dare to refute, but when she saw Amu from the corner of her eye, she immediately pointed it over. Seeing the eyes of the other two big sisters piercing over, Amu faintly felt as if she had been sold. Chapter 275 Ancestral Trump Card. In front of Peony, there were two older women, one with long blue hair and one with long golden hair. Although Eminem is somewhat face blind, it is even more obvious that the three of them have subtle similarities in facial features. It's just that in comparison, Peony's temperament is more lively and agile. The second sister Calamus with blue long hair feels more gentle, and the elder sister Sakura with golden long hair feels more majestic. Point, the two sisters learned about Peony's attack and hurried to Junsha to find her. After making sure that she was not injured, Sakura severely reprimanded her. They rushed up to single-handedly. It's fine if you don't report to Junsha. Why didn't you notify the sisters? The second sister, Changpu, also injured this time and did not persuade the eldest sister and even helped her from the sidelines. Peony was scolded for a long time with her head down and suddenly found a life-saving straw. No, she suddenly found the culprit, so she immediately identified Emu. Point, seeing the cherry blossoms and Calamus looking over, Eminem also felt his scalp tighten. Point, however, Amu took the initiative to come over. Although he didn't hear how Peony quibbled, he immediately said, these two are Sister Sakura and Sister Changpu, right? Don't blame Sister Peony. I also asked Sister Peony to inform me before. 2. Senior Sister Peony is worried that Team Flare will have eyeliners around, knowing that if the two senior sisters show up, they will definitely be alarmed, so she refused. Mew is not lying, although Amu himself is also worried about this, but at least out of politeness, he took the initiative to notify the first and second Hall Masters. After all, it is not good for senior sister mutant to take too much risk. It was Peony who refused, and Eminem just didn't insist. Point, with the help of potions. If it weren't for Peony telling, choosing to fight head on, it wouldn't be so thrilling. At this time, Amu immediately sold Peony backhand. Seeing the hatred of the two older sisters being pulled over again, Mutant quickly said, you said that it is enough to lure those two guys over. No problem either. That's right, it's all my fault. I was only paying attention to the potion for senior sister Peony and forgot that senior sister Peony is not used to fighting under the effect of potions, so she was overconfident after winning the first place, thinking that she could really defeat those two dangerous elements. Eminem took the responsibility with sincerity. You didn't prepare well for the test and you wandered around. After Mutant had nothing to say, she began to blame other parties. Point, Slim Shady. Enough. You two, go back and talk about you two. Sakura stopped the two of them from flirting with each other and then looked around, probably because she was worried that the three Hoolan sisters would be too conspicuous here. Go back Sister Sakura, I won't go to visit. Amu heard what Sakura meant and wanted to refuse for a moment. You can just call me Sister Sakura, senior sister or something. It's old fashioned. Sakura emphasized. Sister Sakura. I'd better wait for junior brother. Cough. I'm ready to take the test and then go to Hulan Gym. Mew was talking, but was interrupted by Sakura. Okay, I didn't want to force you to test. Hulan has already come. How can you not come to the door except for the test? Tone point hearing this. Mew said embarrassedly. I'm not worried. Did someone say that I went through the back door? Generally speaking, any capable trainer will indeed shy away from the owner, who has a relationship with him after all. The owner has a high degree of autonomy in awarding the first 8 badges. As long as it is not too much, the alliance generally does not care. Yes, it is easier to gossip. HMPH. Peony hummed twice, not because of this. Before my sister mentioned about Eminem, it was just a guess, but after Mutant got a sideways look from the eldest sister, she immediately became honest. Calamus was at the side at this time, covering his mouth lightly, pretending to be surprised. So it's because of this. Mew? We thought it was because of Zyraksha. Slim. Shady. So direct. Seeing this, Peony couldn't help shivering. The second sister is here again. Indeed, Emo didn't come to the door before accepting the test, mainly because Zyraksha has always been very resistant to Hulan Gymnasium. Mew also knew that it was mostly Zyraksha who made her childish and had nothing to do with the 3 senior sisters, but she didn't have any bad views on the 3 senior sisters because of this. But she was concerned about Zyraksha's emotions, so there was no contact. Seeing that Emu was embarrassed, Yinghua didn't immediately make a rescue. She deliberately watched him explain a few words in a superfluous way, and then said, okay, let's come to the Hulan Gym first. Do you have a Pokémon mount? No. Amu felt unable to refuse, and at the same time, winked at Zyro AI, hoping that she would give full play to her child's advantages, and interrupt with an AS. However, Zyro AI obviously didn't intend to help. After Sakura knew that Zyro AI was Emu's sister, she enthusiastically invited her to get in the car too, and let her Chorus and Peony take care of him in the backseat. Sakura didn't have a Pokémon to mount, Frog Flower or something. You can ride it in an emergency, but it is not considered a mount Pokémon, because if you ride for a long time, this kind of Pokémon and the rider will not be comfortable. Seeing that Amu refused, she had no choice but to sit in the co-pilot first. Actually, we are also from Hulan City. That child Zyraksha, we have known each other since we were young. Sakura explained while driving. It's just that Zyraksha was still very young at that time. After all, Sakura was 11 years older than Zyraksha, and Mutant, the youngest of the 3 sisters, was also 7 years older than Zyraksha. Therefore, in the mouth of Zyraksha's father, who is not very good at expressing from Zyraksha's memory, the 3 sisters are other people's children. Later, the 3 sisters embarked on the journey one after another, and they shined in the rookie competition one after another, and became the students of Dr. Jumu. This children from other people's family became more and more heavy on Zyraksha's head. By the way, Sister Peony, the person who saved you from the siege earlier was. Amu suddenly realized that person uses a fire type Pokémon, and it is likely related to Zyraksha's father's gym, right? After all, the gymnasium of Zyraksha's family is actually of the fire department. It's not considered a rescue. I can do it myself. Mutant panicked when she heard this, especially after noticing that Sister Sakura was looking at herself in the rearview mirror. She deliberately downplayed the danger of the battle just now. Ahem, it's Uncle Guang. Mutant calmed down and answered first. Uncle Guang? Amu obviously didn't recognize the name. It's Uncle Yan's good brother. Uncle Yan, you don't know who it is. It's Zyraksha's father, Baoan. Mutant said carelessly, looking at Amu's expression. Only then did Amu realize that that person should be the trainer of the previous Hulan Gym, the old subordinate and brother of the owner of the Blast Flame Gym, and he should also have the strength of a 10-star trainer. From this point of view, there was a good reason to follow him before. After all, he also wanted to see who his daughter/niece's companion was. Hey, Emma sighed. Huh. Brother Emu, came to eat with the senior sisters. Are you so emotional? Are you worried about Zyloxia's anger? Or worried about my and eldest sister's craftsmanship? Calamus's voice floated weakly from the backseat. Amu suddenly trembled. Of course it is impossible for Eminem to say that, and it is even more impossible to say the matter of the divine position was brought up in the last chapter, but this chapter still did not explain it, and someone will definitely be scolded. So he had to say, no, I was thinking. Poor parents all over the world. Zyloxia doesn't know that her father actually cares about her. Seeing what Muden wanted to say, Eminem immediately said, I'm an orphan. That's why I'm very emotional. After sacrificing the trump card, not only the peonies, calamus and cherry blossoms were also embarrassed for a while. This is an ancestral tradition in our orphanage. It interrupts all awkward conversations and only embarrasses the other party. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.